Hey guys, welcome to Philadelphia Live. I got a full show ahead for you guys. I'm Judea Murray, and I'm here to bring you guys breaking news, live news, get you updated on all things that are happening right here in our spot of town. So Philadelphia, it's going to be New Jersey, Delaware, but we'll also talk to you guys about some national headlines and get you caught up maybe on some international stories as well. But keep in mind that you kind of set the tone here. So we're live streaming on a couple of different social media platforms, including TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I want you to hit me up in the live chat. Let me know what you want to hear about. Ask me questions, ask one of our reporters, or even our meteorologist. I'm able to read all of that stuff in real time, you guys. We can interact in the chats together as well. I can give shout outs and I can try to get you guys some answers to your most valued questions. So keep in mind, we'll be doing that all night long. You got me from 7 to 10 p.m. Here's a look at some of the things that are happening around town to get you caught up. So if you guys were interested in seeing the Phillies take on the Nationals, that first pitch has been moved not 6:40 like we were all anticipating, but to 7:05. And weather might play a role in that. So we'll be talking to our meteorologist in a little while about what's going on outside. Is the game going to get off without a hitch? Because we've got about, 4 minutes to see if that happens. And of course, you're taking a live look at Citizens Bank Park because that's where it's all going down. We've got a home game tonight. The Phillies are playing the Nationals. Luis Arraez honestly had an incredible debut. He's back at it, so we're ready to see what he's going to do tonight. Andrew Painter's also back on the mound, so again, a lot in store for us. If we have another shutout like we did last night, I'm all for it. You're also taking a live look. The Senate floor is open. We've been listening to our lawmakers come up, introduce some of their bills, what they would like to move forward, and see if anybody will sign off on it. And then also, you've got to the right of that, we're going to get you caught up on everything we know about a man who they say went missing years ago. And now they seem to have a breakthrough in that case. So we'll be checking in with one of our reporters about that. And again, you guys, this is an interactive live stream news chat, so I want you to do your best to hit me up in the live comments. Again, I'm able to read all that stuff in real time. Also, let me know where you guys are streaming from, where you're watching from. I love giving shout outs. But let's get you caught up on one of those stories that I was just telling you about. The man who went missing years ago. One of our reporters, Joanne Pileggi, got out on the grounds after we heard that there may be some new movement in that case. Joanne, what are you hearing?
Yes, well, Judea, this was considered a cold case because the victim, turns out he was a victim, disappeared from his home here in Northeast Philadelphia in December of 2014. Now, we call it a break in the case. I don't know if you could call it solving a cold case, but the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office announced that they made an arrest in this case. There were possibly 3 people involved in the disappearance and unfortunate murder of 69-year-old Vito Maglio. I believe we have some photos of Mr. Maglio. He was a businessman and he didn't return home to his family's home here in Northeast Philly in December back in 2014. The family called police. They didn't know where he was. And unfortunately, it wasn't until about 3 months later that police discovered his body was in the Schuylkill River. Sadly. This is a heart-wrenching case because he left behind a wife and several children, and they never knew where their father was. And finally, police notified them in 2015 that Vito Maglio's body had been found. And then, after all those years, the case just went dry. It went cold until a couple of detectives kind of hung in there and stuck with it. And lo and behold, they made an arrest in the case. They arrested a 30-year-old Philadelphia woman. She's from the Frankfort section of Philly. Now, she was allegedly involved in this case. Mr. Maglio's body was found beaten, and he had also been shot several times. Police believe the motive was robbery. He had stopped by at a family member's restaurant a few miles away from here after he had recently retired. And unfortunately, he did not return home. So police began that investigation. As I said, the case went cold until this week. They announced this one arrest. Apparently, there were others involved in the disappearance and murder of Mr. Maglio. One of those suspects, alleged suspects, was apparently killed. We don't know about the other one. We don't know whether there will be further arrests. I had the chance to actually speak with, inside of her home, Mrs. Maglio, a widow now for 12 years, almost 12 years. She showed me some pictures of her late husband. She showed me some family photos. She did not want to speak on camera, but she did talk to me, and she said that she didn't want to pass one day without knowing what had happened to her husband and that someone would be held responsible for his murder. So we'll have more on this story later this evening, but again, they're calling it a break in the case. Did it solve the mystery? Perhaps not yet. We're waiting for some more details. What we are hearing from detectives and police is that technology, modern technology, helped them, as it has in so many cold cases. Apparently, they were able to do some background checking and some tracing on phone records that connected this one suspect to this murder. So that is the latest. Those are the developments. This is the neighborhood where the Maglio family lived. Not too many people out today. The family has released a statement, and we'll talk about that later on this evening. But that is the latest, Judea.
Joanne, I have to say, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to say about everything that's coming out now. And just like you said, I understand that it doesn't necessarily answer all of their questions, but just to get some of them, we're talking about over a decade later answered. I mean, that has to stand for something. One thing that I wonder, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like lately we've been getting quite a few of these cold cases cracked, or at least some new answers in them, or they've been breathing new life into them. The Philly Police Department, I have to say, is doing a really good job at getting some of these answers out.
Right, they're doing their job. I mean, obviously there's technology and other tools that police departments everywhere are using these days to pull up some old evidence, see if it's connected to something else, and they come across a match somewhere. So I think that may be the case in this murder investigation in Northeast Philadelphia. So, well, I'm sure we'll be learning a lot more in the coming days and weeks, and hopefully solve this cold case for the Maglio family.
All right, we'll be catching up with you a little later on, the 10 o'clock hour, maybe even in the 11 o'clock. You guys just stick with us here on the Free Fox local app, or stick around with us on our social media for an update in Joanne's case. Thank you so much for bringing us the rest of the details that you've got so far. And in the meantime, I also want to get you guys abreast of other things that are happening. So we know that here in Philadelphia, the Phillies are playing the Nationals. They said that the game would be postponed until about 7:05. That is when the first pitch was supposed to go out. And from the looks of it, they were able to start on that new time. So you're taking a live look at Citizens Bank Park. You can see the Jumbotron going crazy. There are plenty of fans out there enjoying themselves. And I say enjoying, honestly, with air quotes, because it was disgusting weather earlier today. When I was getting ready to come here to the studio, I walked outside and it was like, I want to say a monsoon, but that's just so dramatic. But it was just so much rain. On top of it being hot, it was sticky, it was nasty. I didn't like it. So I was really excited to finally get inside, away from it. For the first time in a long time, I actually brought an umbrella with me. I know, shame on me, but I'm learning. I'm learning how the weather is here in Philadelphia, but I'm hoping to keep us abreast of some of the things that are happening in terms of our weather forecast, what's coming up. And unfortunately, I'm hearing it might even include a heat wave, is one of our meteorologists, Scott Williams. Scott, what's going on out there in the skies? Is it going to get any better?
Come on now, Judea, you know we get rid of one thing and we replace it with another. That's kind of been the theme of this summer. So, I mean, we're talking about the humidity. It's back. I mean, we just really needed to bottle up yesterday. It was a terrific Tuesday, low humidity. We had the sunshine, but now we're talking about that air you can wear, and it really just hits you because dew points today have been close to 80 degrees. So that is that stifling humidity. Combine that with a little bit of thunderstorm activity, and when it rains, it pours. That was the case earlier today, especially along the I-95 corridor. Immediate suburbs, we had some of those flash flood warnings. Still a few leftover showers showers. Nothing is severe, and it will start to diminish over the next hour or so. But we saw some of those downpours that produced rainfall anywhere from 1 to 3 inches earlier today across the area. So right now we're just looking at a few isolated showers moving through portions of Chester County into Delaware County, as well as northern portions of Newcastle County. There was a little lightning with this, but you can see it really continues to weaken, lifting on off to the north and east. So we'll be watching for that. There still may be a spotty shower around Philadelphia later on over the next hour or so, but most of that coverage has drifted into the Poconos, portions of the Lehigh Valley. Now, in terms of that forecast for tonight, we start to see things settle down. It will be rather muggy, rather humid out there. For your Thursday, I think the best bet for any pop-up showers, thunderstorms, will be toward the Poconos, portions of the Lehigh Valley. Some of those could be isolated severe as we get toward late tomorrow afternoon into the evening time frame. But most of us, it's all going to be about that heat, the humidity that will be building over the next several days. Now, in terms of those temperatures, we're in the 70s north and west. That's where we've had more cloud cover this evening, more in the way of rainfall. It's 82 right now, Philadelphia. Temperatures today made it to 85 degrees. That's 2 degrees below where we should be for this time of year. As we look at those dew points, take a look at these numbers here. I mean, it's 78 in Hamilton, 77 Philadelphia and Wilmington. And if you've been watching us, we always talk a little bit about the dew points. Anytime those dew points get above 60, it starts to feel kind of muggy, kind of sticky. Well, yeah, we have dew points that are close to 80 degrees. So that's why it feels so oppressive when you step outdoors. You can almost kind of slice the air with a knife. That's just how humid it is. Now, in terms of overnight low temperatures, we stay in the 70s. We're talking numbers for Philadelphia around 76, 77 degrees. We should be in the upper 60s for low temperatures for this time of year. So it starts off pretty warm for your Thursday, and that is a launch pad to get into the 90s. So yes, we're talking about temperatures going back into the 90s for high temperatures tomorrow, but it's not so much that air temperature, it's what it will feel like. Now we add that humidity into the equation. Those feels like temperatures will be approaching the triple digits. So it's once again the hazy, the hot, the humid. High temperatures going into the low 90s for most inland locations for tomorrow. The Poconos the exception, as well as some of the shore points. And then we're going to be talking about that heat danger. Take a look at this. The heat advisories, those kick in at 10 o'clock tomorrow and then run through about 8 o'clock on Friday. This could be extended, folks, into the weekend, if not replaced by an extreme heat warning by that time frame. But we do know that interior areas along the I-95 corridor, as you get into interior parts of South Jersey, Newcastle County, Delaware, Southeast Pennsylvania, feels like temperatures 100 to 105 degrees. So that's going to be a shock to the system. And take a look at this. If you're planning your day for Thursday, by the morning, it's feeling like 90 degrees. By lunchtime, it's feeling like 100 degrees. And we could feel like the triple digits for several hours for your Thursday. So that's when you've really got to stay hydrated. Loose fitting light colored clothing, check on pets, check on elderly. Temperatures for the shore will be a little cooler, but it's still going to be warm down the shore. Temperatures over the next several days, low to mid 80s. Watching out for a moderate risk of those dangerous rip currents, and we're talking about water temperatures that are in the 70s. So that is going to be pretty nice. Just watch out for those rip currents. But take a look at this stretch of days where temperatures are going to be low to mid 90s here. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I mean, I'm going to start sounding like a broken record over the next several days. Do people still have records? Yeah, I don't know. And then we're talking about, pop-up shower and thunderstorm chances, but you can see that string of days where we will seal the deal on that sixth heat wave of the year. Now, it's not as bad as some of the other heat waves. Remember, if you recall, some of our heat wave, we had high temperatures for several days that were over 100 degrees. I don't see that, but I still see that cumulative effect that will begin to take a toll on us as we get toward this weekend and even into early next week. So, I mean, welcome to the Delaware Valley, Judea. It gets just as hot here as it does in Hotlanta. How about that? You weren't ready for all that, were you?
I think it gets hotter here. And because it's a different kind of heat, it's that humid heat. I feel like in Georgia, for the most part, it's just dry.
Okay.
So.
And yeah, the buildings, the population, the I-95 corridor, it all adds to it.
Goodness gracious, so you're bringing me back. Someone in the live stream chat, by the way, when you were doing your forecast, they said, Scott, no! And I don't know if it had to do with the records comment, which, by the way, younger people are buying records. They are.
Okay.
Or maybe it was about the day after day after day, feeling like it's in the triple digits. Could have been either.
Yeah, records are expensive now.
They are, but apparently I don't know what it's
vinyl,
about.
right? The vinyl.
Yeah, whether it's people just want to feel like they own something again, because so many of us, we just download music on our phones or
Yeah.
like pull up YouTube. So maybe
And
it's just that physical.
even the record players, those are hard to find. And if you can find one in good condition, they're expensive. I mean, who would have thought, right?
Absolutely. I thought about getting one for a friend's birthday, and when I saw the prices, I almost fainted as if it was 100-something degrees.
You're like, let me call up someone and see if they just have one,
Let's do dinner
standing by,
instead.
right?
Let's do that
Right.
instead. That's your gift. Anyway, Scott, thank you so much for giving us a look at our forecast. A lot of people who were trying to get out to the game tonight were wondering what it was going to end up being like, because like I said, it was a downpour, and all of a sudden it stopped and the sun came out, smile and shine just a little bit. And then it was a downpour again. But it looks like everything is pretty good. So that's what's going on at Citizens Bank Park. Again, we'll get you caught up on the score there. Oh, Lord, actually, the Nationals just scored. Well, they actually had to put something on board, because yesterday was a blowout. They didn't score anything. So we'll give them one, but come on, Phillies. We're only in the first inning. We got plenty of time to, get it right. And again, we do have a pretty powerful group of guys out there. I was actually just looking at the Phillies Instagram page on their stories. Let me pull it back up, because they said exactly who was starting for them. Okay, let me scroll through. I know for a fact we've got Luis Arraez again as a second baseman. We've got Schwarber back, Turner, Harper, Bohm, Marsh, Stott, Crawford, and of course Andrew Painter as well. So again, that game was supposed to get started at 6:40, but I believe due to weather, they decided to push things back until 7:05. So again, we'll be talking to our sports team a little later on about that. I also want to just real quick get you acclimated on some of the other things that are coming ahead, so you know what to wait for. Earlier today, we heard that there was a press conference that kind of addressed the situation between the police and the LGBTQ plus community here in Philadelphia, all those people who wanted to get out in June for Pride festivities. So they had that press conference where the commissioner actually talked a little bit more about the clash, why he felt it happened, how he now doesn't want to see that happen again, and what he feels they need to do moving forward to make sure it doesn't happen again. So soon I'm going to have an interview with a gentleman who's over the helm of the Black Philly Pride here. He'll be talking to me about, how the community is kind of taking things, how they took the press conference earlier today, and just how both sides really want to move things forward. So that's something that's still coming ahead in this hour. I just wanted to let you know, wait for it if that's something you're interested in. We'll also have a report soon after this break on this situation. It's a candlelight vigil going on as we speak. We'll get an update from our Shawnette Wilson on that in just a second. Welcome back into Philadelphia Live. This is a news alert for some, an update to others. A Delaware man was arrested and charged in connection to a deadly road rage shooting. That's what police are saying. And so today there's a vigil happening for the man who lost his life. I want to turn things over to one of our reporters, Shawnette Wilson, who's getting us updated on what's going on out there. Shawnette, this started not too long ago, right?
Yeah, so people started to gather. The vigil, Judea, was slated to start at 7 o'clock, although people arrived slightly earlier than that just to get a spot here on the lot behind me. We are in Newark, Delaware, and this is actually where the victim, whose name is Jason Paoletti, and we have a picture of him that was being passed out by people who know and love him here at the vigil. Behind me, you can see that cars have started to gather. There's biker groups that have come out to pay their respects to him and remember someone who they say they knew and loved. Now they picked this location here because apparently Paoletti was a mechanic, which I did see his sister Dawn posted on her Facebook page as well. He was a mechanic, and one of the bays off in the distance is where he had his very own business, is what I was told. And so family and friends decided to gather here at this location just outside his place of business, and you can see people still arriving here. He lost his life actually yesterday at 1:30 in the afternoon, and it was really not too far from here on Salem Church Road and Old Baltimore Pike. From what Delaware State Police have said, Jason Paoletti was on a motorcycle. He was involved in a road rage incident with another man who was in a car. They stopped at a red light. Apparently Paoletti was behind the suspect, but then pulled in front of him, and then, they got into some sort of verbal confrontation. And according to police, we have a mugshot of the person who's been arrested, who is identified as William Simpler. Police say that he shot Paoletti, and he, died soon after. So police did arrest, as I mentioned, William Simpler, who left the scene, but they were able to identify and arrest him. So they do have an arrest in this murder here, but again, family and friends have turned out just to pay their respects. Really struggling to understand, why this happened. I will also say that in a press release put out by Delaware State Police, they say that they, through their investigation, determined that the victim had reached into a saddlebag, for whatever reason, but then was shot by the suspect. So that is what we know of the investigation. I did talk to a woman, Judea, just a few minutes ago, who walked up. She said that her daughter is actually was engaged to the victim, Jason Paoletti. They had known each other for 3 years. They had been engaged for about a year. And so this is just a tragedy all the way around, that something like road rage is the reason that this young man in his 40s, scheduled to be married, owned a business here, is dead. And then another man, I believe they say is in his 20s, is in custody facing charges in connection with this murder. So we are waiting for things to get started. Again, it appears that people are just still gathering right now. It's unclear, what they have planned, whether the family will speak. We just know that people are gathering and willing to hang out here tonight as long as necessary.
Shawnette, first of all, the details of this are wild as we dive a little deeper into them. I have to say, too, road rage is one of my biggest fears, being out on the road. So to see it happen in real time is just, like I said, wow. And I also wanted to confirm, you said you believe the suspect was in his 20s. He is 28 years old. That's the man who was arrested in connection to this. Okay, so now the family, friends, I'm seeing such a big community behind you. I'm seeing a lot of motorcyclists out there as well. The kind of mechanic he was, did he work on cars, bikes, both?
His business here is in a auto repair kind of strip here. You can see the white building behind me. So apparently those individual bays, are different businesses. Someone told me that his business is to the far right, all the way at the end. So these are individual bays, I guess businesses, but it certainly says auto repair on the building. So the assumption, I guess, is that he worked on vehicles. He was on a motorcycle, when he was murdered. So whether he belonged to a club or not, I'm sure we'll find out. But that is a big portion of the people who have gathered tonight. There are people who are in various bike clubs who are here. So the assumption is that probably so.
Have they said how long they plan on being out there? Since the candlelight vigil, I imagine maybe as it gets a little darker.
Yeah, so we haven't had a chance to go over because we wanted to pop out and talk to you really quick. So as soon as we get over there, we'll find out. But that's the challenge too, Judea. We've been sadly covering vigils, and people say they want to have a candlelight, and not fully thinking, and understandably, right, with all they're going through. But that most times it's not even getting dark until close to 9 o'clock. But we saw people even bringing, we saw one woman with a chair, a fold-up chair. So I get the impression that also, regardless as to, I'm sorry, we're hearing so much car noise over here. In addition to the candles, they were asking his sister on Facebook for people to bring blue and white balloons as well. So they will likely release balloons, but when you have someone like this, they belong to a community of bike clubs. Sadly, a situation like this turns into somewhat of a fellowship, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you often will see people who will gather and they will sit here, as long as they will, to share stories and memories, and also just to wrap their heads around what happened. We're looking at people now who are just, embracing each other. The mother of his fiance said that it's just unbelievable. She said, her words, he was a nice guy, he would have given his shirt off his back, and she too is wondering, like, why, if he did pull in front of this car, would the driver of the car not just dismiss that? We don't know what the words that were exchanged were that led to him being shot. But certainly, again, as you said, the fear of road rage, here we have, like I said, someone's life who's taken and another person who will likely spend time in prison. So people are just really still surprised. This was just yesterday, right? So it's really fresh that this has happened, and they're gathering tonight to remember him.
And I just want to say to the family, that is a beautiful flyer. We've been showing it as you've been talking, that helped them, promote the vigil that's happening tonight. It was a very beautiful flyer that they put together. So Shawnette, thank you so much for showing us what's going on out there. If you don't mind, just text me if things, like when they started lighting the candles, or if you see any balloons come out, maybe we'll just be able to take a look back in. But I appreciate you giving us all the information you have so far. For those of you guys who are streaming with us, we've got a lot of people in our live stream chat right now, and I appreciate you guys for joining us too. If you don't mind, let me know exactly whereabouts you are watching from. We have a lot of people who join us from the Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware area, but we also have a lot of people who come from out of state. We actually had somebody who, they shouted out a part of Georgia, I know very well, Lilburn. So that was kind of exciting to see, but also sometimes we have people viewing internationally. So I'd love to know where you guys are watching in from so I can give some shout outs. In the meantime, we are going to take a step back, quick commercial break. I want to get into back to school. Normally we're talking about back to school supplies or health. We've got measles cases here in Pennsylvania and all that, but in this particular story, we're talking about technology. One of our Fox News reporters is going to share how some schools are implementing drone technology, and you might be surprised at what those drones are expected to stop. We'll be right back. Welcome back into Philadelphia Live. We've got a couple of responses. We've got Brenda watching from Dover, Delaware, JB watching from Arkansas. See, I told you people are coming from other states. A couple of other people as well. We've got Juanita from Chester, Pennsylvania. We appreciate you guys. Again, welcome on in. Keep the comments coming. Now, this story that's coming up, probably gonna wow you. Again, when we're talking about back to school, a lot of times we talk about the school supplies and our teachers and trying to get our kids the best outfits, but this story is all about how some schools are trying out some new technology, and it's a really actually pretty serious topic. So with students getting ready to head back to the classroom, there are schools in 3 states right now that are piloting a program that would actually help them use drones to protect their campuses against active shooter events. Yeah, that's where we are right now as a society. Now, one of our reporters, Fox News' Amy Gallo, is actually all over this, trying to bring us the latest, get us more information on what's going on out there. Amy, how are these drones designed to keep these schools safe?
Judea, the best way to think about this really is as a sprinkler system that you would use for fires. That's what the founder of this company called Guardian Angel, that's what he compared this to. And that's because these drones are placed throughout a school so that they can make it anywhere on campus within 15 seconds. And they will only ever be deployed, just like a fire alarm system, if there is any danger. 15 seconds. That's all it takes for these drones to reach their target. And if there's an active shooter on campus, it could mean the difference between life or death.
The big challenge in school shootings is that they're all over in 120 seconds. So what do you do in that 120 seconds to try and save lives? The police aren't going to be there yet. Like that majority of mass shootings, it's already over before the police get there.
According to the FBI, most school shootings end in 5 minutes or less. That's why the Campus Guardian Angel program aims to respond within seconds.
We can get everywhere in about 15 seconds. The number of officers you would have to hire in a high school to get to everywhere in 15 seconds would be a lot.
The drones are stored in multiple boxes of 6 around the school, and they're only deployed if school staff reports an active threat.
Anybody can press a panic button from their existing tech that they've got, or they can use our app to call us, and then, we engage one of our teams on that event.
Then response units made up of military veterans and drone racing pilots in Austin, Texas, decide whether to launch.
I think this is a great idea, and this is something that will be set into place to save lives rather than losing more lives.
I definitely think it could help with response times. My concern would be, if this could be hacked or if our kids' images get leaked anywhere, that would be my concern. But otherwise, sounds great.
The drones fly 30 to 50 miles per hour inside and up to 100 outdoors. And they're equipped with what its creators call less lethal features.
We go first with a siren and a strobe. And we tell the person to, put their weapon down, surrender themselves over.
If that doesn't work, they also shoot pepper spray. And as a last resort, the drones can crash directly into an attacker. So far, 6 schools in Florida, 5 in Georgia, and 1 in Colorado are taking part in this pilot program. Judea.
Amy, there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm really happy that you had the visual for us. I didn't realize how powerful and fast these things were. I think one of the first videos that came up, it showed the drone crashing through the window, and that's really how he gets engaged inside with an active shooter. So I guess my question, since they're high speed, 30 to 50 miles per hour, how would they safely navigate the hallways? I guess they're anticipating the hallways maybe to be empty at the time?
Every case is different. You'd anticipate some of the school's population to be in lockdown if they're aware of a threat, but of course it's an active shooter. Who knows what they're going to come up against? But I'll tell you this, these drones are manned by professionals, whether they're, drone pilots that compete in races, so they've got that speed aspect and know how to maneuver, or people who used to be in our nation's military. So these are people who know what they're doing. They've done countless of missions like this before and are counting on that experience heading into whatever might be going on a school campus.
Seeing that they're armed with the pepper spray as an alternative to the sirens and the flashing lights, I think is a pretty big step there. And I just wonder, do we know anything about the cost of these or who foots the bill, like in these states that they're being piloted in? Would it be something from taxpayers or grants? How does it work?
Yeah, so it depends on where they're going into play. So I had asked the founder of this, how does this work? How does the school approach you? If it's a private school or a charter school, that's a little different, right? They're a private entity and they can do whatever they'd like with their money, and they take that on their own. But for any public schools, like the ones in Florida here, they of course do have to get money allocated from the state's budget. So that's what's happening here in Florida. We started with it was 3 schools that were getting this pilot program, and now there has been more money allocated, so 3 more schools in different counties can also pilot this program. So we'll see, if this expands. The hope for the company, of course, is that this expands and that it's successful. But yes, budget and money definitely come into play here.
And my last question, did they mention how long they want the pilot program to go before it could potentially become permanent?
So this pilot program is for this school year, and then I guess we'll see. Of course, we're hoping that this does not need to be used. What we're seeing is these schools are going through really extensive training periods. Just this week, the school here in DeLand, Florida, that just got these drones, they went through at least 2 trainings. So this is something that they're really working on to make sure that they're prepared for it, and then we'll see how long the pilot program stays a pilot program. But these drones will be there and can be in use if needed.
I think this has been an incredible report, and that we should see more stuff like this. Not necessarily this happening, but I mean, we should get to see what other states are doing in their school systems, whether or not it works for them, so we know if we should implement them here up north. Amy, I appreciate you bringing us this live report all the way from Orlando, Florida. I want to bring our audience back here to me in Philadelphia. We are, wow, in a really different time, you guys. I know when I was in school, we had fire safety drills and lockdown situations. We didn't call them active shooter trainings, but that is what our children go through now. I remember when my mom was in school, she said they had the bomb shelter in place kind of drills. I'm dating her, I'm sorry, Mom. But again, just interesting in seeing how generation after generation, something new, something to be explored. So now, potentially, we could see drones in our schools. But let me know what you guys thought about that. I mean, you saw the video, you got to hear how it would work, got to ask Amy a little bit more about potential costs, where the money comes from. So let me know. Could you potentially see something like that here in Pennsylvania or Delaware or New Jersey or wherever it is that you're watching from? Again, keep letting me know which cities you guys are streaming from. There's so much more news coming up after this, by the way. Remember, I told you about that meeting earlier today where City Council actually got to talk to the commissioner here in Philly and talk a little bit more about what happened back in June during Pride Month. There were celebrations, festivities, a march happening when it's like all of a sudden chaos. So we'll dive a little deeper into what actually went down in June, how the police responded, and what they're hoping to get out of this, learn from it, and how to move forward. We'll have a report on that as well as a live interview coming right up after this. All right, you guys, welcome back into Philadelphia Live. We're hearing 15 people were arrested during Pride festivities right here in our neck of the woods in Philadelphia back in June. They were out and about, celebrating, having a good time. Police say they got a little rowdy, and then one thing turned to another. So some people have accused the police department of overreacting. Some have outright called it a form of brutality. So City Council, they sat down with the police commissioner asking more and more questions about what actually took place in June. Can you explain away some of these videos and pictures that we were seeing surrounding social media? And the commissioner did respond. One of our reporters, Shayna Ferreira, covered this. I want to let you see how her report develops this story, and then we'll get into a deeper conversation a little later.
Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel in the hot seat, taking on those questions in terms of where the policing standards lie. And he said one thing, that a few of the tactics that were used were simply wrong.
But I stand here before all of you, and I say this to you. Next year, it will not be like that. It will be prepared.
Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel admitting some of the policing methods were out of policy during Pride weekend. This coming after backlash in viral social media videos depicting officers pushing people in the crowd along the neighborhood, some using a taser to disperse crowds, others accused of using their horses to aggressively move the crowds along. Something Councilmember Rue Landau says was deeply disturbing to watch.
There was such an aggressive show of force on what was supposed to be a day filled with joy. We heard from people who were frightened and who have said they don't feel safe going to the neighborhood since Pride.
Commissioner Kevin Bethel in the hot seat fielding questions about the policing tactics deployed that day, admitting some things were done wrong.
No one in my department gave any order that you're going to go down into the neighborhood and attack the LGBTQ plus community. That is not who we are as an organization. That is not who I will allow us to be as an organization.
Video circulating on social media showing masked officers policing the crowds in the neighborhood, something he says is simply out of policy.
My men and women are not supposed to be wearing masks unless it's by policy. They do not and shall not and will not be wearing masks. We will address that. We address that internally, and we'll address that through the disciplinary process.
Additionally, the officer's use of a taser sound to move crowds along is simply no longer Philadelphia police policy. However, members of the LGBTQ plus community making it plain, saying there is more work to be done.
Philadelphia cannot celebrate LGBTQ plus people in June and treat it like a public safety problem for the rest of the year.
You are going to use horses on kids, motorcycles on kids. You're going to use excessive force on kids. So if the kids ain't protected or going to be supported, do I feel safe that I'm going to be protected and supported?
A message that this fight is far from over.
The cornerstone of community policing is trust, communication. None of that was there. That was all broken. That was absolutely broken, and it will be taking a very, very long time to repair this.
Commissioner Bethel mentioning that moving forward for Philly Pride 2027, he hopes to move forward with better policy, with better communication with the LGBTQ plus community in hopes of restoring that trust. Shayna Ferreira, Fox 29 News.
Well, thanks to Shayna for that kind of wrap up on that long press conference that happened earlier today, that meeting between City Council and, of course, the commissioner, trying to defend, but also at times, get back on the police department on how they handled things. So I think there's one big piece that is missing here, and that's the voice from the community that was affected. So after this commercial break, I want to bring in Jason Bowman. He's the president of Black Philly Pride, to talk to us a little bit more about how they say they want to move forward with this next year. What would that actually look like for everyone to be comfortable? We'll be right back. All right, welcome back into Philadelphia Live. I want to get this conversation started. Before the break, you heard that package, that piece from Arshana Ferreira, sharing a little bit more about what happened earlier today during that council meeting between City Council and them saying that they were not happy at all about what happened in June with Philly Pride and police response to it. And then you also have the Philly police side of things. The commissioner spoke, sometimes defending his officers, but also saying that what happened wasn't okay. So I wanted to bring in, like I said, one of those voices that I think is missing from the conversation in totality, and that's someone who's actually part of the community that was affected by what happened. So we're going to bring in Jason Bowman, the president of Black Philly Pride. First of all, Jason, thank you so much for making some time for us here on Philadelphia Live.
No pleasure. I mean, no problem. Thank you for having me.
No problem. All right, so during that piece, we got to hear the commissioner comment on things like police wearing masks. We also know that 150 police officers were put out onto that scene. About 15 people, I believe, were arrested. If you were actually out there when this happened, can you just give me your perspective of how those events went down?
Well, I actually was out there when it happened because earlier that morning I received my second Stonewall Award from the Philadelphia Gay News. So my car was actually in the parking lot that was on Locust in between Juniper and 13th. So it was a gridlock. It was a gridlock of barricades and people on the sidewalks not being able to get, where they had to be. You had people that was, maybe they didn't go to the Pride celebration on the Parkway. They decided to support an LGBTQ plus business in the neighborhood. You could not get into the bar. You could not get into the various clubs that was in the area. It was a complete nightmare. Definitely a failure on the Philadelphia Police Department, for sure.
So in them, at some points, I mentioned the commissioner had taken back what they did, said that they shouldn't have been wearing masks, that there would be some training before they go out next year. Are you moved at all by the points that they bring up and how they're addressing it?
I will say this as somebody that just actually had a physical altercation with a police officer this past Saturday, that I still remain hopeful and I remain optimistic that, the police department and the Parker administration acknowledge what happened and make sure that they do tangible things to move us forward. I know we provided City Council with a lot of demands and solutions that can drive meaningful change, accountability and transparency, and making sure that Philadelphia is more inclusive when it comes to public safety. The city must bring us to the table, though, and make sure that that work happens beyond today, because Black and brown LGBTQ plus Philadelphians have been sounding the alarm for years of our treatment and disrespect that happens in the city's neighborhood. I mean, we are supposed to be the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, and that's the least bit of what I feel when I enter the city's neighborhood. So I think today was a great start to a larger conversation and, more work that's obviously ahead of us.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that leads me to, where do you think the breakdown in communication is, and do you think it's possible to mend that? I mean, even before the year is up, before we get to our next June celebrations?
Well, I think that we have to also think about, Pride 365 did an amazing job moving us to the Parkway. I know there were a lot of people that were in the community that was concerned about it being moved out of the neighborhood. I'm old enough to remember when Franny used to run Pride, that Pride was actually at Penn's Landing before it became back into the neighborhood. So I know the footprint looked a lot different this year. I think that the police department and the city needs to also understand that there's no one way to celebrate Pride. And I think that in their mind, they felt like, oh, they're going to go to the Parkway to celebrate Pride, not thinking that, people are going to celebrate Pride how they see fit. So they decided to go back to the neighborhood and support those LGBTQ plus bars in that sacred space that is ours, allegedly, in the neighborhood. But, I stand 10 toes down that the neighborhood, and especially Black and brown celebrated and patronized bars in that area, are policed a lot heavier than white counterpart bars. And I'm going to just call a spade a spade. I've said that on public record today, and I'm not going to back away from that. I also know that outside in the Midtown Village, because that's what it's called now, it's not the neighborhood, it's Midtown Village. You have McGillen's, you have Eubank that is on Chestnut Street. I mean, you see intoxicated people, you see people acting belligerent, you see all kinds of things. That's what happens in nightlife when people are leaving the clubs. And They're not policed to this way. To deploy 135 police officers over that, as he said today, children that were twerking on top of cars. I don't know. I mean, you deal with those individuals, but you don't make this a public safety thing because the public didn't feel safe.
So I had to ask you this. And I'm just going to be transparent here with you, with my audience. I have not experienced Philly Pride. I have experienced it in New York City, in DC, in Atlanta. So I actually don't know what it's normally like out here, and I don't know what actually happened this year around. But have you been to any other cities, and could you compare what we saw this year with what you've seen in other cities?
Absolutely. I mean, as the president of Philadelphia Black Pride, I'm no stranger to crisscrossing across the country going to various prides, right? That's the beautiful thing about Pride season. I noticed that the difference is in other cities, the city and local leaders actually work with the Pride organizers to make it inclusive. They're involved. They actually provide funding to make sure that it's fun, that it represents the entire city, that it's warm. You know, I think often about this, and I thought about this today. We just witnessed FIFA Fan Fest come here. We had a lot of visitors from different countries come here and fall in love with the city of Philadelphia. I want LGBTQ plus people, when they come here for Pride, to have that same experience. I think they deserve that. I think that, you know, we are the 6th largest city in America, or are we the 7th now, for a reason. And I want LGBTQ plus people to come here and feel comfortable, feel seen, feel valued and respected. I mean, at the end of the day, we spend just as much money, if not more money, than most communities. So I hope that this is the opportunity to get this right. Again, like I said earlier, I'm hopeful, but hope without action is not enough. And we will be watching after these cameras leave to make sure that they stick by their word and actually make the changes that they said.
Okay, hold on. I like that you said that. Hope without action. You said you need to see something happen. So as one of the leaders in the community, as one of the biggest voices, what do you need to see? What do they need to come back with you guys? How do they work with you so that we can have a peaceful time for everybody next time around?
There is always there's currently right now a lot of police oversight committees. There are different LGBTQ plus advisory councils and boards that have been created. But, you know, I think it's time for a new face to those boards. I think that you need to also inject more community members that are actually closest to the problem, that can provide a great solution to help, you know, change how they police. But it has to start with an apology. And I'm sorry, throughout this entire ordeal, that's the one thing that I did not hear. I did not hear, I'm sorry. It starts with an apology.
I mean, you're right. I listened to the press conference. They didn't say the exact words, I'm sorry, I apologize. They just said what they thought went wrong and how they don't want to see it happen again. So maybe there is room for another conversation to be had. And I think that I would agree with you. I would also like to see more people who actually represent the community have the microphone and get to speak back and forth and open a dialogue in that way.
And again, I say this as somebody that just had an aggressive exchange on Saturday night with a police officer in the neighborhood. I talked about it on my Instagram. You know, I'm speaking now to internal affairs to make sure that that officer is reprimanded. But again, I'm somebody, and I say this because I don't want to run away from it. I'm somebody that has access and privilege, and I know how to navigate these systems. But I can't help to think about the queer Philadelphians that don't know how to navigate these systems, or don't think that anything is going to be done if they make a report. So, you know, I think about them. I think about a way that we can actually stand in conjunction and work with our police officers for public safety, but also acknowledging that, like, y'all got this incredibly wrong.
Fair point. And, you know, I'm looking at it, so we're writing up on 8 o'clock, but if I have one more opportunity, I just want to ask you, a lot of people are comparing what happened and when they see the videos, when they see the pictures, to Stonewall Inn, how kind of this whole thing started. Do you think that's a fair comparison?
It's a very fair comparison. I said it at City Council, and I left public comment when Rue had first introduced, Councilmember Rue Landau had first introduced that they were going to be doing a hearing. I said that when I was down in the neighborhood that day, I felt like I was in Stonewall 2026. That's exactly how I felt. And I think that people need to remember that Pride started as a protest.
I I was going to bring that up too. There were some very beautiful things, whole community, new policies, parades, festivities that came out of it. Can you see beautiful things coming out of what happened in 2026 here?
I'm very optimistic and I'm very hopeful. But like I said before, hope without action is not enough. And I will be watching, we will be watching what happens after these cameras leave and after this is no longer a hot mic topic.
Amen. Jason, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much again for making some time for us here on Philadelphia Live. I can tell you right now, our live stream chat was really enjoying the conversation too. A lot of people were with you. A lot of people just commenting on the situation in general. But again, I appreciate you for making some time with us. You guys, we are going to keep the news rolling. Got a lot of big things to talk to you about. I'll bring up our Jake Leonard from the digital team soon, just to get you caught up on some of our top news of the day. But also keep in mind, we've got a meeting happening right now as we speak. We've talked to you guys so many different times about these data centers popping up in different communities, especially here in Pennsylvania. Now, there's one in particular, it's already in existence, but now they're talking about potentially enlarging it, expanding it. So we'll have a live report from our Jill Croce in the midst of that meeting happening right now as we speak. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back into Philadelphia Live. I feel like lately we've had a lot of talks on AI, data centers. Again, they're popping up a little bit of everywhere. And some people don't want them in their community. Some people say that they see the upsides and what it could bring potentially. Now, in this case, we're talking about a data center that's already in existence, but potentially expanding. So what's that conversation like? I want to get out to Jill Croce, one of our reporters who's in the midst of a live meeting. Jill, you came out to talk to us. What have you heard so far?
Yeah, here's what I'm hearing so far. I'm in Violin. The planning board special meeting tonight, it's talking about an expansion to an AI data center that's under construction as we speak. Officials, they were expecting a big crowd tonight. That's why we're at the Landis Theater instead of City Hall like planned. The planning board, they're expected to vote on the amended plan tonight. Conversations are still going on as we speak with lawyers and witnesses. Still needs approval from the city's planning board today to move forward. And what's being discussed today, it's an amendment to the Second Amendment plan, and this latest one was brought forth in July, so not far from today. The developer is Data One Vineland, and owner of the server is Nebius, so they would be housed inside. We reported on this newly built Vineland data center along South Lincoln Avenue back in March, and we spoke with residents. They complained about sound, also worried about their property values, and we were talking with people outside today before the meeting. They also have that concern about property value. Today's meeting that's underway right now is talking about the next phases of the center. So phase one, which is what they're doing right now, it's a over 129,000 square foot building that's nearing completion. Phase two concerns construction for over 587,000 square foot two-story AI data center building extension to that existing one from phase one. Also 4 ground-mounted Bloom Power areas, 3 two-story platform Bloom Power areas, a chiller building, and more. Nebius website, just to kind of let you hear both sides of the argument. They talk about sustainable power generation through Bloom, and that's what was introduced in July. They say it's off-grid power generation. They also say Bloom Energy fuel cells provide a clean, quiet, and efficient source of on-site power generation. They also say zero impact to area ratepayers. And then you have Matt Williams. He's with the nonprofit Sustain South Jersey. He says the following, quote, "This is a community that welcomes new neighbors who want to join the Vineland team, but these data center interests are literally bulldozing farmland and exploiting local resources without residential input, much less buy-in. They're not welcome here." So conversations are still going on. We hope that vote does happen tonight and that it doesn't get extended to another day, but hopeful that we'll have a vote for you tonight, Judea, coming up at 10 as well as 11.
All right, Jill, we'll see you at 10 and 11. Get back in there. Let us know if anything goes down. Just send me a quick text. But I appreciate you for keeping us abreast and up to date with what's going on. Now, for those of you guys who are streaming out with us from local news, I also want to bring you a bit of national news. The Trump administration has been out and about to a couple of different cities and states talking about the U.S. economy. And right now, as we speak, we've got Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent as well as we've got Mike Johnson up there as well. They're talking at a local manufacturing facility out in Arizona, again, about the U.S. economy. I want to let you listen in to what they're talking about.
Those very workers to keep more of what they earn. Never forget that if Democrats had their way, working families would absorb the largest tax hike in American history. Largest in American history, $5 trillion. Instead, tens of millions of Americans across the country, including right here in Arizona, Casa Grande, have claimed one of President Trump's signature new tax cuts. Workers rely on tips for an income or keeping more of their earnings through that. No tax on overtime, which I can tell you, as overseeing the IRS, that was the single most claimed deduction of the 44%. 44% of taxpayers claimed one of the 4 signature policies last year. And earlier today at Treasury, we issued new guidance on the permanent expansion of the paid family and medical leave tax credit, which gives businesses like Pepsi greater incentives to help our workers at plants just like this one care for a new child or 6 or recover from a serious illness without sacrificing financial security. Of course, thanks to Trump accounts, newborns, those families welcome will get a stake in the American dream from day one with a $1,000 seed investment from Treasury. And don't listen to the Democrats when they claim that it's for the rich. 86% of the families who have enrolled in the Trump accounts, of the 7 million thus far, have incomes less than $200,000. Trump accounts are reaching the people they are designed to serve. The best part of my job is to get out of Washington and to see how these policies are creating the conditions for families and businesses to flourish. The congressman left me with a great phrase, which you'll see me using over the next few months: policies to people. We enact good policies, and you come and you get to visit the people whose life it impacts. None of this progress would have been possible without Speaker Johnson, who helped carry the legislation through Congress. and benefits the hardworking families across Arizona. Mr. Speaker, thank you for your partnership and leadership. And the Congressman, thank you. With the close majority, we were never in doubt on your leadership. You were early on this, and it has been a joy to do this, and it's an honor to be here today, as I said, to see how good policies they enacted just over a year ago today, and to see how it affects the great people of Arizona. So thank you all.
All right, you guys, this event is streaming live from Casa Grande, Arizona. As I mentioned, you're seeing Secretary Scott Bessent along with House Speaker Mike Johnson, as well as an Arizona congressman, just talking a little bit more about the U.S. economy. They had mentioned the working family tax cuts. Also, you heard him talk a little bit about Trump accounts there. Long story short, it's no surprise that they're coming to some of these different areas. While they're in Arizona, President Donald Trump just left Las Vegas. These are our battleground areas. So they're getting ready for the elections. They're going out and about meeting voters where they are, talking to them about the things that they want to hear. So we're probably going to see more talks like these pop up in the coming days. I just wanted to get you up to date on what was happening out there. In the meantime, again, we'll bring things back a little locally, a problem that is affecting everybody. Cyclosporiasis, cyclospora, that parasite that's causing explosive diarrhea. What happens when you actually catch it? How about the aftermath of it? We'll be talking to a poop expert, if you will, when we come back. right, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. We are about to have a pretty crappy conversation. So, cyclospora outbreak has been going on in a lot of our states, affecting a lot of us. Some people just don't want to admit it. But my big question is, what happens if you actually do catch this illness? Maybe they're calling it a virus, and it takes its course, it runs its course through your body. How do you recover afterward? I'm hearing that it is just as important as how you handle it when it is actively in your body. So maybe you guys have seen the headlines. 2 people in Michigan have died from this outbreak. I think that makes a lot more of us sit up a little bit in our chairs, and maybe now you're more open to the conversation. So I wanted to bring in an expert on the topic, Dr. Julie Gatza, joining us from the Florida Wellness Institute. I was getting ready to bring you to Philadelphia. I apologize, Dr. Gatza.
That's okay. I love Philly.
So welcome on in. We're really happy to have you. And this is such an important conversation for us to have. Again, it impacts a lot of people. So let's say you do get this illness. It's run its course through your intestines, your stomach, you felt sick. Now you're starting to feel better. Is that it? Is that the end?
Well, once you've had that type of trauma to the intestine and to the system itself, and your immune system has been working overtime, what you want to do is now treat it kindly. You want to drink a lot of water, eat protein, have steamed green vegetables, knock out your coffee, your tea, your soda pops, things that irritate the gut. No energy drinks, stay away from anything in a package, a box, and a can, and just go to very basic food that the body recognizes, can break down, utilize those nutrients, and then start to help you heal and get better than you actually were before you got it.
Walk me through the green flags and the red flags of what you should be looking at in terms of your digestion and digestive system afterward.
So anytime that you've got gas, bloating, indigestion, constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux, burping, any of those are symptoms that your digestive system is not efficient. A lot of these are very common, but they are not normal. So if you experience any of those, just recognize that your system's not breaking down the food. You've put something in that it can't handle. And we are lacking digestive enzymes sort of as a whole group because our food source isn't as good as it used to be. So we're not able to break down the food that we're eating the way that we used to. So I've been pushing high quality digestive enzymes as a solution to what's just gone on and helping people to get their bodies back on track. And as well as if you're healthy, taking a good quality digestive enzyme as well will help you get more nutrients every time that you eat and aid in breaking down those foods. The one that I use is called Absorbaid because it's a vegan formula and it does the trick across the board. So I give that pretty much when somebody's sick, they've had toxins, they have poisons, they've had this bacteria that's gone through the body, and any of the symptoms that I've just mentioned.
Okay, an enzyme makes some sense. I think a lot of people have added those to their regular diet now as well, especially, again, as we're all going through this, no matter where you are. Another question that I have for you, I guess, how would you know that you're fully in the clear afterward? Or should you just continue to treat your body this way afterward?
Well, keep in mind, if you actually have a digestive system that's working properly, you don't have any of those symptoms. It works every day. You have a normal bowel movement, things move properly, and you don't have to think about it again. So once you're back at that point, great, carry on, continue to do the things that kept your body healthy. If you're not there, it could still be the aftermath of what's going on, but anytime you've had these things going on for a day or two is when you really want to take a look, because the healthy digestive system means it's sort of the litmus test of how healthy are you. And if it's not looked at and corrected naturally, what will happen in the future is anything, because all these nutrients are gotten through your food and you reabsorb toxins if you're not efficient digestively. So you're constantly putting your immune system at a battle because you're reabsorbing things in the bloodstream that don't belong there. They just belong out of the system and eliminated properly daily.
Now, there's one thing that I do want to make sure I tell my audience, and I want you to weigh in on this as well. But I want to be clear, those two people that I mentioned at the top, the two people from Michigan who have passed away after contracting cyclosporiasis, it wasn't necessarily just that somehow they consumed the parasite and now they're dead. This was a situation where they had underlying illnesses, underlying issues, but because of dehydration, that is what ended up leading to their demise. And so I wonder, sometimes when you go through situations like an extensive period of diarrhea, you'll either experience constipation afterward. Some people have trouble rehydrating themselves. So I just want to know if you have any tips, some effective ways to just get that back in check as well.
Yeah, when you've had that sort of situation happening. And when you mentioned it, the first thought that went through my mind was they probably already had compromised immune systems, so they couldn't fight something that, terrible as it is. Buddies are super resilient and strong and are able to fight off a lot of things, especially when they're given proper natural, solutions. So as far as how to handle dehydration, salt and potassium, eating hydrated foods, the fruits and the vegetables, staying away from grains, staying away from things that actually will suck up the water in the body, don't have the rice and, the different things that way. So you want to stick with, soups and fruits and vegetables, smoothies, lots of water. And it doesn't mean gulp it all at once. It means sip it throughout the day, a lot of it throughout the day, so that it's constantly flooding into the system and getting in that way. So it's usually a mineral problem. Taking a digestive enzyme like the Absorbaid will help to break down whatever it is that you're eating. So you're getting these nutrients in as well and helping this cellular balance perform properly so that they don't continue to be dehydrated.
I really appreciate you breaking down the answer in this, I'm just going to call it intelligent way, because a lot of times when you're talking about dehydration, a lot of people just say, drink more water, drink your electrolytes, but you actually gave us tangible things. And not for nothing, some people say they don't even like the taste of water.
Yeah, when that's the case, I always have them add fresh watermelon, mint, basil, lemon, lime, cherries, let it sit overnight. Pickle juice is another way to actually hydrate the body, and it's an extremely great electrolyte mixture that you can take when you're cramping, you've been out in the sun, and you're really dehydrated. Sauerkraut, there's a lot of natural solutions that you can do that, I'm not a fan of Gatorade or any of those sports drinks because they're so full of sugar and so completely over the top in things that we shouldn't even be putting into our body. That to me, it's a marketing joke.
Hey, to each his own. Dr. Gadsa, again, thank you so much for making some time for us here on Philadelphia Live. Again, this makes a lot of sense to me. I hope some of you guys wrote some of these ideas down. They will help you in the future if you find yourself being not so lucky. Again, appreciate you with your time here on Philadelphia Live. And
thank you very much.
No problem. For those of you who are out there streaming with us, I do want to let you know, coming up next, we are going to have our live sports report. So, Phillies got off to a late start to their game, but it looks like they might still be doing pretty well. We'll check in on their score, check in on what was happening behind the scenes with our Breland Moore, and also maybe even get an update on what's happening with the Eagles. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray, and I want to bring in Breland Moore from our sports team here at Fox 29 Philadelphia. Breland, let's start off with the Phillies. We've got a big game ahead of us. Yesterday was a blowout, but it looks like the Nationals don't necessarily want the same thing tonight. How are they faring out there?
Yeah, so at last check, when I was standing out here, it was 2-1 in favor of the Phils. But the big story from last night and, of course, tonight is the trade deadline acquisition, Luis Arraez. Yesterday, 2 RBI as well as 2 hits. Just kind of the hero of the game in his very first game in a Phillies uniform. I know he was very excited. He mentioned that pregame, just to be able to be out in front of this crowd and to be in this city and to be with this team. And he had himself quite a performance today. He seems to be following suit here. The first score of the game was a home run by Luis Arraez. So seemingly good strings of games from the new trade deadline acquisition. Hopefully you can keep that up as we, progress through these final, 6 weeks or so until the postseason. So he's very early on, of course, in his Phillies tenure, but seems to be proving that Dave Dombrowski and that front office did an excellent job at the trade deadline in terms of that move anyway. You can debate the starting pitching and whatnot and whether they did enough amongst yourselves. But in terms of this move, it definitely seems to be paying off for sure.
I mean, yeah. Dude came out hot.
Yeah.
It was like if anybody ever had a doubt as to why I'm here right now with the Phillies, I'm going to prove you wrong right now. Started out strong. But I'm wondering, how, as a team, are they playing together with him? Is it all pretty gelling pretty well?
I mean, we only have a small sample size of a game and a half, basically. So far, I guess, so good. A win last night and a pretty dominating win. Then again, the Nationals aren't necessarily the best team, but that's okay. You're supposed to be beaten up on teams that aren't the best at this point. That being said, there were several different moves. I've been calling it the musical chairs of the defense. So with Arraez coming into second base, the previous second baseman Bryson Stott slid on over to third base. That means Alec Boehm is at first base, and Bryce Harper went to the outfield and is at right field for the first time since 2023. So that remains to be seen. Again, we don't have a big enough sample size for how this will play out, but so far so good. We'll see if there's longevity in that. But we also know that Don Mattingly, in terms of lineup anyway, likes to switch things around a lot. And so who knows? We might get several adjustments down the line before we hit playoffs in October.
October, okay. So let me put that on my calendar. That is coming up. Excited for that. It'll be my first one here. And excited to see how you guys handle it as well. I know our sports team has been ripping and running, and I am impressed. I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Let's move on to the Eagles. They're still in training camp. A lot of people have been trying to keep up with the headlines coming out of there, and I heard injuries happen to be top of mind. What's going on there?
Yeah, so there were several high-profile people to miss practice today. You've got Devontae Smith and Mekhi Lemon both out due to a hamstring issue, as well as Britton Covey. Is that as much of a loss? No, of course not, but Britton Covey, big on special teams. So just something to keep an eye on, and definitely has made the 53-man roster before. So, something to keep an eye on there. As for everybody else, Lane Johnson has missed practice for the second straight day, but this was an excused personal absence. This could be for anything. So I wouldn't read too much into that. Obviously, he's communicating with the coaches. They know what's going on, and that absence was excused. So I'm not too worried about that. And then Landon Dickerson today had himself a rest day, and people are kind of maybe side-eyeing that. Don't worry about that either. They usually like to give some veterans, especially the ones who, go through it. Those big boys up front definitely go through it in terms of getting banged up during the season. So don't worry about that. It's just a typical veteran rest day. You see that quite a bit throughout the regular season. I just think maybe they're being a little bit more cautious with Landon this early on because of the injury issues he had all last season. You want to make sure that your offensive line, a vital piece of this team, stays healthy the entire, all the way through. I don't want to say the entire 18. You go longer than that if you play for the Philadelphia Eagles. So the entirety of your playoff run, which is a very long and lengthy period of time, you want to make sure that those guys remain healthy, and that starts by managing their load right now in the kind of the dog days of July and August.
And it's so funny to me seeing that, because we report on this every day, I think a lot of people are always like, oh, what's happening now? What's happening now? But keep in mind, like, it's kind of like watching, oh, this is actually a really horrible way to say this, watching paint dry. What I mean is, like,
yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say? Kind of like how when we talk about baseball, I might say, wow, they really had a terrible game tonight, or a really great game. But when you've got a game almost every single day, like, what are we really talking about? So while we're watching them practice every single day is what I mean.
I mean, when it comes to your major players, right? Now, when you're watching depth guys, training camp is super important and super key. You know, who's having great practices, who's looking great. But the majority, your casual fans and the majority of the fan base, they don't really care about the bubble guys or the depth or, you know, who's making the 53. They care about their stars. And at this point, you know, it is a little bit monotonous, but that's the point. You know, you build long championship runs on the work that you're able to do here in the summer, and just, I hate to be Nick Sirianni right now, but quite literally getting 1% better every day and stacking days. You know, coaches love to talk like that and say those phrases, but it really is the truth when it comes down to training camp, because these are long, hard, monotonous days, but they set you up for the grind of the regular season, and what you are able to install and get down here is just built upon as you move forward and as the season progresses. So you don't have too long to wait. The first preseason game against the Ravens is in just 10 days from now. So it's not terrible, but people don't even enjoy preseason games either, because they're like, this is pointless. This is not real football. Well, they need those in-game reps, and they need all of that stuff. Again, to keep building. But don't you worry, I'm sure there will be some drama. They've got a joint practice with the Patriots in 2 weeks, and that means, of course, the return of one A.J. Brown into the sphere, and I'm sure that will be plenty of entertainment to go around for the masses.
Absolutely. Listen, Breland, I could pick your brain all day about what's going on out there in the sports world. I'm going to let you go, let you get back to watching the Phillies game as well. We're going to keep our eyes on it as well, hoping that we pull out another run in just a second. But I also want to let our viewers know that coming up ahead, we've got this really interesting conversation coming up. There is a man who's been helping put together the Danny Rump Classic. We're talking about a charity basketball tournament that happens every single year. This year happens to be its 21st. And that's extra special for a couple of different reasons. So we'll get into what's going to go down at this particular year's event, what you can expect, and how you can still get some tickets. We'll have that when we come back. Welcome back into Philadelphia Live. We've got an exciting event coming up. You guys here in the Philadelphia area probably know and love it. It's called the Danny Rumph Classic. This is a charity basketball tournament that happens every single year. We're talking for the last 21 years. And as I mentioned before the commercial break, this year in particular is extra special. So here to talk to us a little bit more about it is Mike Morak. He actually is the co-founder, also helps put this event together. And also Danny Rumph, the name that I mentioned there, you knew him very, very well. Can you talk to us about his relationship, your relationship with him?
Yeah, Danny was a really good friend. We grew up playing basketball at the Mallory Rec Center together. One of the guys that I always, idolized as a kid. We were the same age, but, he was one of my favorite basketball players. And one of the kids that, that we grew up with that ended up making it to the Division I level. So we were always excited to be able to watch him on television. He was one of the kids that when we got back in the gym in the summer times and then like winter breaks, it was always like a pleasure to be around him. He was one of the guys that was always funny, always brought amazing energy. And I was looking forward to seeing like how far he could really take the game of basketball.
And so in a little bit of research before our interview, I heard that when he was 21 years old, he unfortunately passed away. And that is where this tournament comes from. So can you just talk to me a little bit more about the inception, how it began, and how his family has gotten involved throughout the years?
Yeah, so when Danny passed away in 2005 at the recreation center that we grew up playing in, so he had an undiagnosed heart disease called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. A bunch of our friends were in the gym playing basketball with him, the game that we all love, and he collapsed. There was no defibrillator at the rec center. It took 45 minutes for the ambulance to get to him, and unfortunately, nobody in the gym knew CPR. So he lost his life right in the exact place that we grew up playing. So in 2006, me and a bunch of our friends, Sharif Bray, Sharif Hanford, and Justin Scott and Brandon Huff got together and we were like, let's put a basketball tournament together to make sure that, we can remember him. And at the time, a lot of us being young kids, still played basketball at a college level, had a bunch of guys that played with Danny that were then going into the NBA. And then we had a few different generations that were a little bit older than us. We knew we loved to play basketball. We wanted to get together and honor his name. And, in 2006, we, started the Danny Rumph Classic. And, from there, it's kind of grown on to, one of the bigger basketball events in the country. And we've been able to really always keep it grounded in the purpose of why we do this. His uncle, Marcus Owens, and his mom, Miss Candy, started the foundation in 2005, really in order to put defibrillators in rec centers, making sure young kids have access to heart screenings, and being able to really remember Danny with trying to make sure that another parent or another friend group, didn't have to lose somebody over something that, could have been detected in a heart screening, could have been saved his life if we had defibrillators in the rec center. So we've, been fortunate to make a really big impact in doing those things in heart screenings and placing defibrillators. So, the tournament is a memory of like, Danny, who he was as a player, who he was as a person. And the tournament, really is a 5 days of basketball that covers the entire ecosystem of Philly hoops, and allows us to really, be together, honor him by playing at a really high level, but also doing it for a great cause.
Mike, I have to say, and I need to tell my audience, you were being extremely humble when you were talking about the growth and trajectory of this event. Because as I mentioned, 21 years, it is huge. You guys raise a lot of money, and you have some pretty big stars come out every year to play. Who's coming out this year?
If anybody knows me, we never tell you who's playing. That's part of the allure of the tournament. No. We don't even release the rosters. We're starting soon, and we haven't even dropped the schedule yet because we like make people to understand that the ambiance is always going to be there. It's about the people, it's about the community, and we're very fortunate to have some amazing guests that have come out and played. James Harden has come out and played before he was a 76er. Jason Tatum has played. Tyrese Maxey has graced us with a performance. Philadelphia players like Markieff and Marcus Morris have been staples for over a decade playing in the Rumph Classic and really supporting Philly basketball, the Danny Rumph Foundation, and making sure that, other NBA players come, they support it. The tournament is for post-college players. So we have a lot of great players that are from Philadelphia that play around the world, that come back and play and really compete, and, making sure that the local people who have been fans of these guys since high school, elementary school, and college, get a chance to see the guys that are also around the world and competing at a really high level.
I mean, to me, that means you never know who you're going to see. So if it's somebody who's just out there to be starstruck, again, it's going to be pretty amazing. Bring the kids, but also just someone who is really invested in spreading the word, spreading awareness. This will be a great event for you as well. Tickets are still available, right?
Tickets are still available. We sell everything on a walk-up basis, making sure that everybody just has access to come out. It's a family-friendly environment. We've got a lot of great, people that come out and really just embrace watching Philadelphia basketball. And it's also a great Philadelphia crowd. I mean, this is, one of the bigger events outside of the 76ers. And we try to make sure that, local families and friends can all just come out, really engage with each other and watch great basketball and watch some of the talent that we have in the city. And, most of the time we definitely look forward to special guests that want to come out and kind of like make sure that they touch a Philadelphia basketball court in the summer.
I'm excited. I hope that I can get on out there. I know you said you got a couple of days worth of getting on out, so there's plenty of time for anybody who's interested. There's one thing I do want to ask you about. You won't tell me who's coming out, but I heard this year you guys have a new challenge. Can I pick your brain on that?
Sure.
Okay. Fishbowl challenge?
Fishbowl challenge?
Mm-hmm. Is that
No, we don't have a fishbowl. No, we don't have a fishbowl challenge. But we've got some phenomenal basketball that's going to happen over 5 days. We've got 8 men's teams, 4 women's teams. We have a community clinic. We've got a special middle school games, like showcasing some of the top, kids going into 8th grade, into 10th grade. We've got some phenomenal female basketball players in the middle school level, also in the at the collegiate or post-college level as well. So really, we've got something for every basketball fan in the city of Philadelphia. And we've also got, some other fun people that are definitely going to pop in just to make sure they see us without, maybe touching the floor, but, making sure that they get a chance to see the Philadelphia environment.
All right. And remind our audience one more time where the money
goes to the Danny Rome Foundation. So 100% of the proceeds go to the Rome Foundation, doing heart screenings for young athletes, providing defibrillators in places where kids play basketball. So every day we'll also be providing a defibrillator to a new organization to make sure that they have access to a defibrillator, and they also understand what is like CPR and AED training look like. And we've allowed a lot of kids groups that are going to come out and be a part of the event. Special thank you to Councilman Isaiah Thomas, the city of Philadelphia 250, big supporters of ours, as we're a part of the legendary Summer Hoops Month program that's covering a lot of free basketball around the entire city for the month of August.
Well, again, I'm really excited. I figure our audience is excited to get on out there as well. Thank you so much for joining us to talk to us a little bit more about the basketball tournament, what it means to you, what it means to the community. And again, you guys, 21 years in the making. This is going to be a pretty big one. You guys, thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you so much for having us.
No problem. Now, while we're talking about basketball, for those of you guys who are streaming out there with us, I do want to tease something that's coming up tomorrow. Another thing to be really excited about, Jaylen Brown. He's going to be wearing number 7. Of course, the Philadelphia 76ers have already announced him. He's already been talking about how excited he is to play alongside a giant like LeBron James. But now it's his turn once again to have all of the pomp and circumstance surrounding him. So tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Philadelphia Live on Fox Local, you guys will be able to watch a live press conference where for the first time he'll be addressing the media, his fans, everybody as a Philadelphia 76er. It's going to be an event that you don't want to miss. Our Jen Frederick will be with you guys on Philadelphia Live 12 to 2 right before it, and then she'll lead you right into that press conference. Again, it's supposed to get started at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and how are you? I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to get into our top news of the day. These are some of the stories that our reporters have been covering in the morning. We're also going to get you some updates on where those stories stand now. And then we'll touch base on a couple of other headlines that may be of interest as well. Keep in mind, this is a live interactive news show. Hit us up on our social media platforms just to let us know the temperature check of what stories you guys are looking for. Any questions that you may have for me or one of our reporters. I'll try to get to it when we come back. All right, welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. Got some big news. Here's what our reporters have been covering all day. I just want to get you guys up to date. So we've gotten a big announcement in a 2014 cold case. This man went missing back in 2014, and now they believe they know who ended up killing him. So Philadelphia police departments, they've been getting more information about this, and they announced the arrest of a suspect in that homicide investigation. But I want to bring you back to what happened back in 2014, over a decade ago. On December 15th at around 10:50 a.m., that's when Vito Maglio, you're taking a look at him there on your screen, that's when he was reported missing from his home on Gorman Street. Now, they say he was last seen the night before, and it was really peculiar to them because the next day they found his car, a Yukon, that had been set on fire. So now on March of 2025, around that time, Philadelphia police say they had gotten reports of a body being found in the Schuylkill River near the East Falls Bridge. They got on out there, they recovered the body from the water, and that's when they identified him as this missing man. So now, for years, the case has sat cold in the Philadelphia Police Department, but they've breathed some new life into it. They announced an arrest of 30-year-old Melanie Morat. She's named the main suspect in Maglio's murder. On August 3rd, an arrest warrant was issued for her. They went and found her at a home here in Philadelphia. They took her into custody without incident. She's been charged with murder, criminal conspiracy, and other related offenses. We've got an article up on this on our website. Keep in mind, one of our reporters is also covering it live as we speak. Our Shawnette Wilson and our Joanne Pileggi is getting you all the information that she can on this particular case. We'll be having that live report from her in the 10 and 11 o'clock news. Another story that I want to get you up to date on as it pertains to these homicides, and I had been talking with Joanne since I said that it was kind of interesting to me that we're seeing a lot of cold cases being brought back up to the forefront after the police have had some more time to kind of dig through what's going on there. So evidently, police department says they're actually down on homicides. Like, the rate here in Philadelphia is significantly down, 24%. So they're saying that that has given them some more time to get back into some of these older cases and try to find some new information. So you're taking a look at our article up there. We actually got to sit down and interview Kevin Bethel. He's the Philadelphia Police Commissioner on Good Day Philadelphia. And he talked about the homicide and violent crime numbers. Again, he says homicides in Philadelphia has actually dropped 24% to date. Overall violent crimes, he says, have fallen by 4%. And he says it's really all about the department's strategy, how they're policing the community, that they are able to bring these improved numbers, and he's hoping to see that continue. But again, it's just interesting in seeing how when we've got things like National Night Out, last night we had a live report on that, where they're talking to the community, gaining people's trust, showing them that they're there to show up for them if they so need them in the days to come, how we're seeing that kind of correlate as well with a drop in the violent crimes and with these homicides. So Philly, I don't know what we're doing here really, but it sounds like we're moving in the right direction. Let's keep it going. All right, another report. Greg Payne went out and about after he heard that there was this massive hole in a neighborhood that has been concerning residents. They're scared that someone or someone's car could fall into it. Well, there was a metal sheet that was placed over that hole. Residents say that's not good enough. We should have some video of them even rolling over those slates and, kind of looking a little shaky. So again, Greg Payne got out to the scene, and it kind of seems like his presence may have brought some change. Take a listen.
All this morning, we've been covering a large sinkhole here on the 1600 block of South Conestoga Street in West Philadelphia. And by the end of the day, Philadelphia Water Department crews were out with a temporary fix. In the middle of the 1600 block of South Conestoga Street in West Philadelphia sits a massive hole covered by a giant plate.
It's scary because I'm thinking one day my car I might ride over and it just might drop down. So it's very scary.
Kareem Anderson says it started as a small hole that began growing over the last few months.
And it just kept slowly collapsing. And then we put cones in front of it so people couldn't ride over it. But then when the city came, they did this. They put the plate there, and the hole was small, and this how big the hole got.
Due to the safety concerns, neighbors say they began contacting the city.
We've been calling about this for months, and they keep saying you can't keep putting in another ticket and this and that. What we gonna do? Nobody gonna come out here and fix it, so. And this is what we got to deal with.
And as more vehicles pass over it, the bigger the concern. Fox 29 was even there when a trash truck slowly made its way over the hole. Fortunately, it made it, but some believe it's only a matter of time.
The more these trash trucks come through, the more weight come on here. I'm telling you, this whole thing gonna come down.
A scary scenario that has the neighborhood just hoping the city will come through and fix it before someone gets hurt.
They need to come and fix it. They need to come and make it right.
Please get it resolved, because any day now, somebody's car can sink into the street, and then that's damages. Y'all not gonna pay for that.
I feel like that right there, y'all should fix it right. Stop cheating, because y'all waste more money that way. Do it right the first time. And if y'all need help, we have people who can help y'all.
The Philadelphia Water Department says following a mid-July street repair investigation, they discovered a private sewer line defect. After serving a notice of defect, they confirmed that the property owner completed the necessary private repairs, clearing the way for final street restoration. They say, quote, "We have received notice that these issues have been fixed and that repair of the street can begin, but there isn't a timeline to share when that work will start." Reporting here in West Philadelphia, I'm Greg Payne, Fox 29 News.
All right, and while Greg Payne was out there reporting on this for us, he actually showed that construction vehicles did show up, as he was kind of alluding to back there, to try to help this situation out. So shout out to Fox 29, my colleagues, for getting a little change done in our neighborhoods. And I just want this to go to show that for you viewers out there with us, whether you're streaming on our social media platforms or whether you're with us on the Free Fox Local app, what you say matters. If you report something to us, we are going to try our best, our hardest, to get out there and figure out what's going on and get you guys some answers and get you guys some change. So you were taking a look at video again of those construction vehicles already making it out there to that scene to try to repair that hole. All right, so another story that I want to bring you on out to, a water ordinance that would have banned billing or it would have banned water shutoffs for households with some of our most vulnerable populations. So we're talking about our senior citizens, our kids who are under the age of 5, people who are disabled. It would have banned water shutoffs for them for non-payment. Now, again, that was vetoed last month. And so some people say that they are hoping some new life will be breathed into it. So one of our reporters, Chris O'Connell, got on out to try to get the latest on that story. Take a listen.
No senior citizen, young child, or person with a disability should ever go without clean running water because they can't pay their water bill. Wilmington's mayor says although a plan to ban water shutoffs is compassionate, it may not be sustainable. The debate over water in Wilmington has become a battle over responsibility and compassion. Some city council members, lawyers, and doctors calling on the entire council to override Mayor John Carney's recent veto of legislation that would prohibit water shutoffs for qualifying households. It includes senior citizens, people with disabilities, and children under 5.
This isn't simply about water. It's about dignity. It's about public health. It's about whether a child has water to bathe before school, whether a senior has water to take medication, whether a family has the basic necessities every human being deserves.
The ordinance would apply to lower-income households meeting income guidelines. Supporters argue access to clean running water is a basic human necessity. They say vulnerable residents should never have to choose between paying a utility bill and paying for essentials like food and medicine. Some water shutoffs lead to something bigger.
Shutoff can lead to a problem that goes well beyond just having to access that water immediately. It can lead to an eviction, it can lead to homelessness.
But Mayor John Carney vetoed the measure. The administration says Wilmington currently has more than $12 million of unpaid water bills and argues shutoffs should only be used as a last resort after months of notices and opportunities to work out payment plans. Less than 60 shutoffs were ordered last year. In his veto letter, the mayor says while the proposal is well-intentioned, exempting certain households from water shutoffs removes the city's ability to collect overdue utility bills and could encourage non-payment. He says Wilmington has worked hard to strike a balance between supporting residents and ensuring the financial health of our public utilities. Council supporters say this isn't about avoiding payment. It's about making sure vulnerable residents aren't left without one of life's most essential services.
I think we can do it for the grandmother, the person with a disability, the family that has children under 5. We can do it. This is not a financial question. This is a question of will.
Some city council members will attempt a veto override during tomorrow night's city council meeting. 7 members voted for the original measure. 9 are needed for a veto. In Wilmington, Chris O'Connell, Fox 29 News.
All right, so we're just gonna have to keep our eyes on that one. You guys, if you want more information on any of the stories that I just told you about, all you gotta do is go to the free Fox Local app, look for those articles, or go to fox29.com and then try to find the story that you are looking for. A lot of them are already ranked as some of our top stories on our webpage or homepage. Now, one last story that I wanna get into, and I do need to give you guys a trigger warning. This is very sensitive in matter. We're hearing that a New Jersey man has pleaded guilty to sexually abusing a toddler. We're talking about a 3-year-old here. So we actually have a photo of him. I want to show you his mugshot that the police have sent our way. He's from Haddon Heights, and he has pleaded guilty to sexually abusing a 3-year-old child at his home in 2025. This is an announcement that was made public by the Camden County Prosecution Office. Also, the Superior Court talked a little bit more about what he was actually charged with. On July 14th, he pled guilty in that Superior Court to 1 count of first-degree aggravated sexual assault. He also pled guilty to 1 count of first-degree endangering the welfare of a child, manufacturing child sexual abuse material, and 1 count of third-degree failure to register as a Megan's Law offender, which of course is one of those laws that is put in place to protect children against abusers. Now, under the terms of his plea, he's expected to be sentenced to about 35 years in New Jersey State Prison. And again, this is just one of those horrible stories that unfortunately we do have to tell you about, just a horrible situation that may have some resolve according to the court system that went through his case with him. All right, you guys, that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to get into our question of the day. We're going to try to lighten up the mood a little bit, add a little bit of whimsy back to our news show, and then we're going to get into some of our top stories of the day. So don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray, and as you can see, I am live from our newsroom. That means I'm going to ask my coworkers a quick question. If you're with us the other night, I want to make this rapid fire, so we won't stay with them too long. But at the top of the show, we had this conversation about new technology in schools. We were talking about drones. And in our comment section, some of you guys were already talking about the yonder cases. You know, the kids are actually having to lock up their phones when they come into school. There were some studies that suggested that that would help them, you know, not be so distracted while they're going through their school day. But there's another new study I just saw in a new article. This is from the National Bureau of Economic Research. Back in April, they found that kids not having their phones in school is actually not boosting their scores, their test scores, which I think is interesting. So while we're always worried about the kids and being on their phones, what about us adults? So I just want to ask my coworkers real quick, do you think you could still handle your job without your phone in the newsroom? So we're going to do a round robin. It's going to be real quick. We'll get right back into the studio. All right, coming over this way, real quick, yes or no? Do you think that you could survive having your job here, doing your job here without distractions, without your phone?
Absolutely not. It's an essential tool for, I guess, any career, but journalists working in mass media, we need our phones constantly to communicate with our teams in the field, to get the latest information as it's coming in.
I would say he's right. I mean, I've got my phone in my hand right now.
Yeah,
Let's keep the ball rolling.
You know, mine's right here.
I got two. All right, Chaz, real quick. If they took away your phone, do you still think you could do your job effectively?
No, people don't stop calling you. No.
She's a producer. What can we say?
Yeah, unfortunately, no.
All right, round robin. We're gonna keep it going. Sarah, you look like you're in the zone, so I'm gonna skip you. Let's see. A little short. I think we've got our assignment desk. We're gonna ask him, and then we're gonna head back into the studio. Whew. I'm getting in my cardio, you guys. Chris, one question real quick. It's gonna be yes or no. If they took away your phone, and I see you got two.
Who's they?
The gods of Fox 29 Philadelphia.
Okay.
Do you think you could still do your job effectively?
Can I do it effectively? Yes. Could I be doing it better with my phone? Yes.
On the assignment desk, you don't think you need your phone?
When I started this position, I didn't have a cell phone to the magnitude of what I use. So
That's very
it
valid.
can be done. It can be done.
Okay, well, there you have it. We've got mixed reaction here in our newsroom. We've got some people who say, hey, I don't necessarily need it. I like having it. It helps me. It's a tool, but it doesn't make or break me as an employee. We've got some other people as well who say, not so much. Actually, I feel like I need to constantly be in contact with my team, and if I didn't have that phone, maybe I wouldn't be able to get the job done. That makes me think about our kids too. But I'm gonna head back into the studio. I want you guys to take a live look out at Citizens Bank Park, because remember, we're keeping up with the Phillies and the Nationals. Before I came out here, the Nationals did put another score on the board, which means we're looking at 3-2, Phillies down, but I'm hoping that changes the next time I come back to you guys. You guys, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray, and I had mentioned that right before the commercial break, we were still looking at 3-2, where the Nationals were up on top with 3, Phillies down 2. But we're hoping that, you know, by the time I came back into the studio, things would have changed. Sorry, I'm a little cold. My teeth are chattering, you guys. I took a look at the score just now, and it does look like we are officially tied. We're still in the bottom 7th inning. You guys are taking a live look as well out at Citizens Bank Park. So we'll try to keep our eyes on this game. Keep in mind that now that we are in the 9 o'clock hour of the streaming platform, if we end, let's say 9:30ish, we can expect to see post-game pressers. That's going to be news conferences from the interim manager, Don Mattingly, as well as some players coming on out in the locker room to talk to our reporters and just share with you guys what it was like being out there on the diamond tonight. So again, that is a game happening right here live in Philadelphia. In the meantime, I want to get you guys caught up. President Donald Trump has had a very interesting and busy schedule, I would say, for the last couple of days. Today, he found himself in Las Vegas, and he was talking to a large group of people. He drew in all different types of names like Dana White. I think I saw Mike Tyson in the crowd as well. A lot of people came out to see him speak in Las Vegas, and he was talking a little bit more about the U.S. economy. Now, I want to let you guys listen in to some of those remarks. Okay. We don't have that just yet. But I can also tell you that we also saw that Secretary Scott Bessent was speaking alongside the House Leader Mike Johnson. They were out in Arizona also talking about the economy and what the presidential administration wants to do moving forward with the election as it's coming up. Keep in mind that is what's top of mind for a lot of our officials right now. Now, another thing that I want to let you all know, we've been seeing primary elections yesterday. Michigan had theirs. A lot of significant races were at stake as well there. You know, it looks like we're not going to have that sound with President Donald Trump. We'll try to work on that. But in the meantime, maybe I can bring you guys something a little more hyper-local. So I had mentioned that there was that press conference earlier, or not really a press conference, it was more so City Council speaking with the police commissioner here in Philadelphia about what happened in June as it pertains to Pride Month. So a lot of people came out to celebrate Philly Pride. They were trying to get on out, have a good time, when they say that 15 people ended up being arrested. They ended up deploying about 150 officers in the area. So I want to let you listen into just a little bit of that kind of back and forth between City Council asking, why did the police department respond the way they did? And the commissioner, in some sorts, trying to explain a little bit more what was going on, but also, no. Okay, you guys, we're going to go ahead and take a commercial break. We're going to try to get reset on what's happening here, and then I'll come back out and bring you guys the latest information. Also, keep in mind, pretty soon I want to get you a live look at your weather forecast. So we're touching base with our Scott Williams when we come back. want to get you guys a live look out on the boardwalk. This is Ocean City. A lot of people excited to get out and about. And I find this so interesting because earlier today, it was like absolutely disgusting in terms of weather. Like we were seeing rainfall, and then all of a sudden it was calm but hot and muggy, and then the rain would fall again. At one point in time, I was seeing alerts on my phone for potential flash flooding. That's crazy. But you would never know it based on the look of people hitting the boardwalk, out and about, having some fun, enjoying some of the businesses right there on the boardwalk. It looks like it's popping down the shore. So I do want to keep you guys up to date with what's going on in terms of our weather forecast. So as you can see, really windy out there. Again, a lot of people getting out and having a good time. Again, muggy, but I'm wondering how long all of that will last. So I want to turn things over to our Scott Williams, one of our meteorologists, getting us up to date on what's going on out there. Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really was a nice day down the shore, Delaware beaches. Most of the rainfall was interior parts of South Jersey, as well as along the I-95 corridor. Route 130 saw some flood problems again today. And then right now we still have some active weather, especially north and west of Philadelphia, moving through sections of Chester County as well as Montgomery County. Nothing is severe, but of course, still looking at some of those tropical downpours, a little bit of lightning with this as well. So as we kind of focus in on Ultimate Doppler, we'll zoom in places that have been seeing some of those downpours around Phoenixville, 202 as you get toward Norristown, moving through sections of Montgomery County right now, looking at some of those downpours. We'll kind of zoom in and you can see there around Phoenixville, hearing some thunder, seeing a little bit of lightning with this, and then this is moving toward 422, moving toward Lower Providence, the Norristown area, Valley Forge area, looking at some of those downpours. So we're still dealing with some of those showers. Now, as we get into Delaware County, you can see just north and west of Media. So they had Dining Under the Stars, getting that in fairly dry, but you can see some of those thunderstorms to the north and west trying to approach the Media area. So pretty dry in South Jersey right now. Portions of Delaware looking pretty good as well. Then as we go hour by hour, still a few showers and storms, mainly north and west of the I-95 corridor over the next couple of hours. Then we get a dry break for tonight. But then for tomorrow afternoon and evening, I think the best bet will be north and west of Philadelphia. Some of those storms could produce some damaging wind gusts, maybe a little bit of small hail. There is a marginal risk for some severe weather north and west tomorrow afternoon and evening. We're talking the Poconos, the Lehigh Valley. Scale of 1 to 5, it's a level 1. In terms of those temperatures, we're currently in the 70s and 80s. Numbers this afternoon made it to 85 degrees, 80 right now in Philadelphia. Temperatures of the dew point right now, you can see we're still in the mid to upper 70s. So that's that air you can wear. That's that mugginess that you feel when you step outdoors. Low temperatures tonight only in the 70s. We'll go 77 for Philadelphia. We should be in the upper 60s, folks, for this time of year. So as we focus in on that forecast for tomorrow, temperatures starting in the upper 70s. Yeah, it's going to heat up pretty rapidly. Temperatures for tomorrow afternoon getting into the 90s, but that's the air temperature. That's kind of like the temperature in the shade, if you will, if you can find some shade. But we're talking about it feeling more like the triple digits. So you can see those heat advisories for Philadelphia, north and west suburbs, interior parts of South Jersey, Newcastle County, and Delaware, feeling like 100 to 105 degrees. So by 9, 10 o'clock, it's going to already feel like the 90s. By noon, feeling like the triple digits. And then by the afternoon, several hours of feels like temperatures around 100 to 103, 104 degrees. Down the shore, it'll be warm over the next several days, but catching a break from the 90-degree temperatures that we'll have inland. Water temperatures around 77 degrees, and that 7-day forecast shows 90s over the next 6 days, potentially a 6-day, 6th heat wave. A few pop-up shower and thunderstorm chances along the way as well. Tomorrow, best bet north and west. Saturday, a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms. And I think the bigger story is just going to be the heat and the humidity with those feels like temperatures around 100 degrees. So you can see beginning tomorrow right through at least Tuesday, Judea, we're talking about temperatures topping out in the 90s and feels like temperatures that will be in the triple digits. So, stay hydrated, a lot of water, loose-fitting light color clothing, check on pets, elderly, children, etc.
Well, I've got my light colored clothing and I do have my water. This time it's not in plastic. I've got my Fox local water bottle.
Okay, there you go.
Coming up in the world. Scott, thank you again for giving us our forecast throughout the day. I appreciate it, and I just want to let our audience know, just in case you missed this weather forecast, you'll get to see Scott later on the broadcast side of things. So again, you'll have that if you stick with us here on the free Fox Local app. Now, I want to show you also, this is the name of the game, live streaming. We're also going to bring you out to live events happening. This one in particular is down south, out in Arlington, Texas. You're taking a live look at Representative James Tellerico, who's a Democrat. He's trying to rerun for office. This time he wants a seat in the Senate. He's right now leading Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton in the race, but it's really anybody's game. I want to let you listen into his live remarks.
For the basics. Adam Smith is rolling over in his grave. This is not capitalism. This is crony capitalism. As Dr. King said, we have socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor. It is time to raise the minimum wage and expand overtime pay so workers can actually share in the wealth they create. It's time to repeal the big ugly bill's tax breaks for the top 1%. And give that $1 trillion to the middle class in the form of a cost of living tax cut. It's time to cut taxes for small local businesses instead of giant multinational corporations. And it is time to rebuild labor unions in this country so employees can negotiate with their bosses for fairer pay, better benefits, and safer working conditions. Working Texans are drowning, and they're drowning in debt. Household debt reached an all-time high in the first quarter of this year. It is time to cancel medical debt and stop hospitals and insurance companies from overcharging their patients. You shouldn't go into debt just because you get sick. It is time to also cap sky-high credit card interest cards and reel in these predatory credit card companies that are ripping off working people across this state and across this country. It is time to invest in college and career education like we did with the GI Bill to educate an entire new generation of Americans without saddling them with a lifetime of student debt. And it's not just personal debt. We have to get serious about the national debt, which is higher than at any other point in American history. We are stealing from future generations. We're always told that the only way to lower the debt is to do it on the backs of working people. But that's not true. We can close the deficit, and we can do it by closing billionaire tax loopholes, cracking down on tax cheats and ending forever wars that send billions of our tax dollars overseas. We need a new American dream for today's families. I am running for LBJ's Senate seat. Like me, Lyndon Johnson was a Texas teacher before he ran for office. And in office, LBJ made the largest federal investment in America's children and families, larger than anything we had ever seen in the history of this country. Head Start, Title I, Medicare, Medicaid, public television. When we win back LBJ's seat, we can pass an LBJ-sized investment in public schools across this country. We can pass universal child care and paid family leave so no one has to choose between earning a living and raising a family. We can expand the child tax credit and make it permanent so no child lives in poverty in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. We can slash the red tape preventing us from building new homes across this country, and we can provide down payment assistance to first-time home buyers so every American has a place they can call home. And we can fight tooth and nail against attacks on Medicare and ensure that the wealthiest Americans are paying their fair share into Social Security so every American can afford to retire with dignity. We need a new American dream for today's energy. Texas is the undisputed energy capital of America. We are #1 in oil and gas. We're also #1 in wind and solar. We are an all-the-above energy powerhouse, which is what true energy independence requires. Gas in your tank, oil under your hood, and a solar panel on your roof. Cheap, reliable energy for all. It is time to stop attacking our growing renewable sector in Texas. Do not play politics with our Texas energy industry. We should invest in the renewable energy technologies of the future, and we should partner with our oil and gas industry so Texas can stay an energy leader in the 21st century, just like we were in the 20th century. Texas should leverage our energy expertise to lead America toward a cleaner, cheaper future. And we need a new American dream for today's technology. We cannot let artificial intelligence become yet another arena where billionaires write the rules for the rest of us. Working people must get a say and a share of that AI future. We can start by cracking down on the data centers that are jacking up our utility bills and using up all our water. And if data center companies can't meet our demands, they shouldn't be built in our communities. We can go further. We can establish an AI dividend so every American citizen owns a piece of these American AI companies. If they are going to use our human ingenuity, if they're going to use our collective intellectual property, then we want our royalty checks. And we can double down on human creativity. We can invest in entrepreneurship grants for people with a great idea, for a business, for an invention, for a piece of art, but don't know any big investors. Startup funding for the little guy. It'll pay off, just like it did when the government invested in companies like Tesla and innovations like the internet. The people at the top are afraid of this new American dream. They're scared of this room in Arlington, Texas, of all of us coming together across race and gender and age and party to dream a little bigger. They're going to claim that this new dream is radical. They're going to claim that it's extreme. They're going to claim we're socialists or communists or whatever sounds scariest in a headline. And in return, we'll say, is that the best you can do? These are the same old scare tactics. This is the same old politics of the past. The names they'll call us only reveal how small their dreams really are. The people at the top want this to be a contest of names because they know that they'll lose a contest of ideas. Both the math and the past make it clear that a country that takes care of its people grows faster than a country that abandons them. In 1914, when a reporter asked Henry Ford, a titan of industry, why he doubled the daily wage for all of his workers, legend says he gave them a simple answer: so they can afford to buy my cars. When you give rich people money, they save it. When you give working people money, we spend it. We stimulate the economy. Despite what that false gospel of trickle-down economic tells us, pro-people policy is pro-growth policy. It is not an either-or choice. Listen, if you hate politics, I get it. If you don't think that you have time for politics, I get that too. And if you don't believe anything good can come from the political process, I certainly get that. But let me explain why this moment, in this state, in this race, matters so much for your family and for your community. If you are struggling to afford groceries, if you're struggling to afford gas, if you're struggling to afford housing, childcare, and prescription drugs, the things that we need to survive, it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you made bad choices. It is because the system has been rigged against you by billionaire mega donors and corrupt politicians like Ken Paxton. I don't take corporate PAC money, and I never will.
All right, you guys, that's just a look at what's going on again in Arlington, Texas. That is where Representative James Tallarico is having his meeting where he's talking to his supporters. This is ahead of their election. He's going up against Ken Paxton. He is, at this point in time, leading him in the polls. But again, that could potentially change when they actually go out to vote. So I just want to be clear here that we did only hear one side in this particular race, but Ken Paxton is the other voice that we are missing there. Keep in mind, we're also keeping our eyes on the Phillies. They're still 3-3. They are still tied. We're at the bottom of the 8th, ending the 8th, going into the 9th inning. We'll see what happens, who will come out on top. Hopefully, we'll be able to bring you guys some post-game news conference-like stuff with Don Mattingly and with any of the players. That could potentially be coming up right before the 10 o'clock news. So stick with us for that. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk to our I was going to call you Joe again because I knew a Joe Leonard. Jake Leonard's coming on up to the desk with us, and we're going to get into a little bit of what's trending out there. What are you guys reading, watching, talking about on social media? Because I hear there's some pretty deep stuff today. We'll get into it when we come back. All right, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. We've got Jake.
Hi.
Jake
Got it
on
right.
the desk with us. Yeah, I'm not gonna forget it now. Knock on wood. You know, we've got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of trending topics. You guys are scrolling, reading, hearing about a lot of different things, and I heard one of those topics has gone viral and for all the wrong reasons.
Yes. Yes. So usually come up here and share like fun news, but this one's a little bit more serious, but I felt like it was very important to talk about. So basically last night, Perez Hilton, who if you don't know that name, he's a big, you know, like celebrity blogger. He like almost like a one-man version of TMZ. So he was like
TMZ before TMZ,
and he was like around before like TikTok and a bunch of the other social media. So he's been around for a while. A lot of people know his name. And so last night he was live streaming on TikTok and was displaying, you know, seemingly not well behavior. He was harming himself. He had visible wounds, and a lot of people were just kind of freaked out, you know.
Understandably so.
They didn't know what was going on, so a lot of people put in calls to the police. You know, basically they sent the live stream, this is going on, this is where we believe he's located, and the police came and took him away. And we got a statement today from the family that read essentially like, you know, we appreciate all of the support that we've been receiving. You know, we want our privacy, but Perez is getting treatment right now. So
that's good.
Yeah, so he's currently hospitalized, getting treated for what the family kind of alluded to being a psychotic break. So there's not a lot of details around that. I'm sending so much support to Perez and his entire family. This is a really scary thing that happened.
He has kids.
Yeah, he has kids, and the fact that it was live streamed, you know.
Yeah, we are in such a everything is everywhere all the time society right now. That is also our generation that we are living in. And just to your point about like who he is and like the kind of, I guess, audience that he has
Yes.
had in the past. And of course, he's always done like celebrity gossip. He still does it today,
Yes,
just a
yes.
different flavor of it.
Yes, definitely.
And I also had heard that recently, like in June, I believe he relocated to Miami.
Yes.
So I don't know if this may have been stress related or I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. I
The-
don't want to speculate. But
Yes, an article came out from TMZ kind of speculating that he was having financial issues. So again, like it seems like it was triggered by stress. That could be it, but we don't have a lot of details. Obviously, the family deserves a lot of privacy.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, just well wishes to Perez. You know, I feel like with this story, it kind of goes back to our conversation last night involving Ariana Grande, where it's like we have these public figures and, you know, people are kind of just like viewing them as almost like dartboards, just to throw darts at, you know, send hate their way, but you really have no idea what's going on in their personal lives. So this is yet another example of a public figure who is clearly struggling behind the scenes and no one knew. So just think about that before you like leave that unnecessarily mean comment.
100%. I'm glad that you brought that up
Yeah.
too. And just quick shout out to some of the people who did happen to be on the live stream when this
Yes.
was happening and knew to say, hey, we should probably get police
Yes.
involved or get
Yes.
some sort of first responder, emergency responder to wherever it is
Yes.
that he is.
100%.
You probably saved his life, you guys.
Yeah, like everyone handled it really well. The police department said they received a multitude of calls from like all over the world. So
Wow.
a lot of people came together to help Perez out. So I'm sure the family is so appreciative.
Yeah. Normally I say this will be a story that we're looking into, but to be honest, let's just give them
Yeah.
privacy. Let's let that be whatever it is.
Definitely.
But prayers out to him and his family as
Definitely.
well, Jake. Thank you for sharing
Yes,
that
of
with
course.
us.
I thought it was very important to
Yeah,
discuss.
it's for me. Mental health is always top of mind.
100%.
Streaming is great. You guys should be on when you can be on, but at the same time, you know, we see a lot of things
Yes.
happen like in real time as well. It's not always the best thing.
Definitely.
All right, Jake, I appreciate you for bringing us
Thank
that
you.
piece. You guys, we are going to go ahead and take a break from there. When we come back, we'll get into some of our other news. Remember, I had mentioned that President Donald Trump had that talk out in Vegas today, and he had some pretty high ranking stars in the crowd with him. Also happening today, we had that meeting between the Philadelphia City Council and the Philadelphia Police Commissioner in talking about Pride Month. Here in Philly, we had a big festivities. There was a march of sorts, you could say, in the neighborhoods, when all of a sudden it seemed like a lot of police ended up coming to the area, and it ended up very negatively. I'll put it very plainly there. But I'll let you listen into the conversation that's being had now about how we move forward from that, what Pride Month should look like next year, and you know, different ways that maybe the police can look at how they policed the people in this case. So again, we'll try to get you into both of those big topics, national and local, when we come back. All right, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. Let's get you caught up on President Donald Trump's schedule today. He was actually in Las Vegas talking a lot about the U.S. economy. But to be specific, he talked a lot about the working families tax cuts. He says he wants to lower the tax burden on some of our working class families. Does that include you? I want to let you listen in to some of the remarks that he had.
Tax on tips didn't hurt, did it? Remember I said it, and by the way, I said it and I got it done. You know, a lot of people say it, they don't get it done. But I remember I said it, then about a month and a half, 2 months later, she came out and she said, that's Kamala, because by this time Biden was gone. He went bye-bye. And Kamala came out, she said, no tax on tips. What does that mean? She didn't know what it meant. And people cast her aside. They didn't believe it. She was a little late. She was a little bit late. But right now, it's one of the best things. I mean, it's one of the greatest things. People are making a lot of money, no tax on tips, and it's great. And the best thing, and the thing I'm most proud of, because a lot of people would say it's a little bit, tends to be a Democrat state, but not when I'm running, because we had more votes than any candidate in the history of Nevada. Actually, by far. By far. So every day since, I've been fighting for the people of Nevada like no president has ever fought before, and the people of our country. When we took office, we inherited a total catastrophe. Biden and the radical left, Democrats, I call them Democrats because their policies are so dumb. You exchange the E with a U, and nobody knows that dumb doesn't have a B. Democrats. I can't imagine I didn't think about that 10 years ago when I started this whole situation. But the Democrats created the worst inflation in 48 years. They had the worst inflation. I inherited those high prices, just so you understand. I inherited them. Wide open borders with millions of people pouring in from all over the globe, from drug dealers and people in prison. They opened up their prisons from all over the world, including from the world's worst prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums. We had transgender for everybody. We had men playing in women's sports. How's that one? We had a big win on that, as you know, in the Supreme Court. Crime was ravaging our cities, and the whole world was laughing at us. But they're not laughing anymore. They're not laughing anymore. They don't laugh. They don't laugh anymore. We had a president that nobody respected. Nobody thought anything about him. Everybody took advantage of him. Everybody took advantage of him. It was sad, actually, including his own family took advantage of him. But America's respected again like we have never been respected before. We've never been respected at this level before. And less than 2 years ago, and you've heard this said, this was said by the king of Saudi Arabia, he told me, a year ago. That time the dates were a little different, but the statement was the same. He said, President, a year ago, your country was dead. It was a dead country. We never thought it was coming back. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. You have the hottest country. And I'm not getting credit from the fake news for what I've done. I never have gotten credit. I don't get credit. Dana, I don't get any credit for anything. Everything I do, even prescription drug prices, where they're down 400, 500, 600, think of it, 600%. Favored nations. We had the highest prices in the world, and now we have the lowest prices. The press won't write about it. They don't give me any credit. But look at the bright side. I'm president, so you gave me credit, right? You gave me.
All right, so that's just a taste of some of the remarks that he had out in Las Vegas. Again, this was mostly so that he could talk about the U.S. economy and tax cuts for working class families. Keep in mind that Nevada is one of the battleground states. So, you know, he's being very strategic about where he goes and where he speaks because we do have elections coming on up. Now, From national news, I want to bring you guys back local. We've got that meeting between the city council here in Philadelphia alongside the police commissioner. And they're talking about this event that happened in terms of Philly Pride Month. So there were festivities, a lot of people out and about in the neighborhoods, and they say 15 people were arrested, 150 police officers deployed, around 150. So they say that some of the tactics used by the police may not have been the best. Some people have been calling it police brutality. They've gone that far. But the police commissioner says that while there are some things that he would change, he does stand behind his officers. I want to let you listen in to the conversation, the back and forth there.
Just like during the movement and didn't show a video, at the end of one of the videos, you would have seen the officers depicted with masks on. First and foremost, we did a thorough analysis. We went beyond the 4. There was additional officers. I believe we went as 8 or 9 officers who have a mask. I sit here today and I can tell you I have absolutely no idea why my officers were wearing masks on that day. That is not acceptable. That is not a part of policy. And you are 100%, Councilman. I sat in your room and I told you that. And I said that that's not what we do. But just like anything, unfortunately, folks violate policy, and we have a process for that. We immediately, Internal Affairs is investigating that matter. The officers right now, as I said, they work in the district and they move into these MERT components as a specialized and privileged entity. They are not in that position at this time. As we go through the investigation, I won't go into anything more because they are going through a disciplinary process. But I stand here before everyone. My men and women are not supposed to be wearing masks unless it's by policy. Now, you may see one of my highway patrol officers on a 30-degree day going down 95. Yes, they're going to wear masks. On January 1st during the parade, yes, we're going to give them some authority to wear something that is much more comfortable. But for their daily duties and their daily work, they do not and shall not and will not be wearing masks. We will address that. We address that internally, and we'll address that through the disciplinary process. I just want to make sure I get that out. Thank you.
And so if I can, thank you for that
Yes, sir.
statement. If I can just offer a little recommendation as it relates to what they wear. It's been cold for as long as I've been born. The mask phenomenon is a new thing. So whatever people need to do to stay warm, don't wear what they wear. And we all know who they are, all right? So whatever it's going to be to stay warm, there was a long time where we would stay warm with mittens and all these other things that were not masks. This is a new phenomenon. So even in the cold, 30-degree weather, minus 30-degree weather, I don't think it's any excuse for law enforcement to cover their face. We can go earmuffs, we can wear gloves, we can do a lot, but I don't think that we should let the weather justify people doing something in 2026 that they didn't do in 1996.
Well, I hear you, Councilman. I just want to meet you somewhere, highway patrol officer who's on a wheel, going 60 or 70 miles an hour, whether you be doing a parade or a lead or something, that air and that air hitting his or her face is significant. And I think
what did that officer do? You've been around a long time. What did that officer do before we was in this ice phenomenon?
When they're on the motorcycles, they've always worn some type of shield, but they take them off. They're not. It's only done when they're riding, not when they're.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yes,
you know
sir.
where we are as it
Yes,
relates
sir.
to that. And I just want to remind folks, when young people were wearing masks, we demonized them, right? It didn't matter if it was cold. It didn't matter what was going on. They got demonized when they were wearing masks. And unfortunately, we find these justifications, especially in a climate like this, for law enforcement to do it. I have to pass it to Councilmember Landau. She's going to chair the rest of the hearing. Before I pass it to Councilmember Landau, I'm just curious. You said in the beginning that you had officers, to use your word, you had officers who are considered amongst the community, right? That was part of your testimony in the beginning.
Yes,
How
sir.
many officers who were deployed that day would you consider amongst the community? And then how many, because if I'm amongst the community and I see something wrong, I think I feel a little more obligated to report it. So how many officers that day that were deployed were considered amongst the community, and how many officers reported any bad behavior from their colleagues that day? So we're looking at video where we clearly see officers doing wrong. I'm curious, did any other officer say, hey, Rue, you know, you got a mask on, you should probably take that off. Were there any reports that day from officers reporting officers for behavior that we should not have seen, since there were so many officers out there that's amongst the community?
I don't have that information as to where all of those, we did both the external complaints, and then what we have internal affairs is going through all of the video of all the men and women through their body-worn cameras to see if we determined that there anything that was in violation.
But did a police officer report another police officer for being in violation? Like, was there one officer who said, man, they got on masks? That's not right. So I'm going to report this.
No, I think in that regard, as part of the investigation, it should have been a supervisor who identified that those men and women were under supervision. It is the supervisor's responsibility at that time to identify that the officers are not in policy and make those adjustments. That is part of the investigation internally that we're doing. It should have not taken an officer to say that this person should not have a mask on. It should have been the supervisor who was managing those men and women to identify that those persons were not in policy.
So, Commissioner Besser, this is where, so let's go back, because we have a long history. And so there was a time when you was running school police, and I was the chair of the education committee.
Yes, sir.
And when an incident would happen in a school, a teacher who witnesses the incident is obligated to report the incident, whether I'm in charge of that person or not. So help me understand, how do we have a climate with law enforcement where I can watch my colleague do something wrong, and then you're telling us that the person who's responsible for addressing the colleague doing something wrong is a supervisor, and there's no responsibility for the officer standing next to the officer with a mask on? So if I'm with Rue, right, and Rue do something wrong, and I don't say something to Rue, the public will view both of us as doing something wrong. So I'm trying to figure out, why would it be only the responsibility of the supervisor? And again, I'm asking this.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying, in that situation there,
right,
the supervisor had a duty and a responsibility to make sure his people were in the proper uniform. As it relates to overall, our men and women are trained and in policy that if they observe officers doing things that are inappropriate outside of policy, they have a duty to stop that behavior, and they have a duty to report that
so that
behavior.
mask wouldn't fall in that category?
But what I'm saying to you, yes, even if the officer saw the person didn't had a mask on, he or she has no authority to say, hey, Officer Smith, take that off. He or she would go to the supervisor and give that information.
So that was my first question.
My position is that could have happened. That's what we're going through the investigation. We don't know if that happened or not until we do the investigation. I don't know that.
Come on, Commish. I mean, the incident happened I'm going
to.
You don't know if one officer reported one officer. Like, I'm just. Listen. Let me explain why I'm asking. Because when you communicated early on, I'm just listening, right? All the videos and clips, I see maybe one or two. I'll give a shout out to Jason for telling me that's what was going on. But a lot of this information is new for me, so I have no bias here, right? I'm collecting information. I'm listening to questions, and when I hear the intention of the administration is to put people of the community in the event, it would give us the perception that you're putting people there who are sensitive to the issues that's going on, knowing that they would address it. Okay, go ahead.
First and foremost, I have a number of officers who do not identify within the department. So I couldn't even begin to tell you the number of officers.
So you gave us the wrong perception. You probably should have said that to us.
I met with my gold chapter after this event. In that process, I found that some of the officers were down in that space during the operation. They shared with us that they had concerns about how we operated. They had concerns about the barricades. In that position, it did not come up the day. It depended on where they were. They could have been on 13th and Locust, just standing on a corner watching a barricade and not seeing any of the behavior that you're describing. So I don't make any assumptions that those folks that I described to you who identified from the community, who met with me, were in that place where you're describing the mask. That was a small area where we saw the men and women walking up with the mask. I can't tell you who was in that space was from the community who would have said, hey, there's something wrong. That being said,
I understand what you're saying. I'm just going by what
we'll
the
go through an
testimony that was
But part of
communicated.
when we investigate things through internal affairs, we do an expansive. That's why I told you I could easily sit with the 4 people you showed me and say that was it. We went through every video and said, oh, there's additional men and women who are wearing masks, because we didn't even see it in the video. That was expanding the investigation. Part of the Commissioner Dales and his team will now go through, and they will sit down, and we will determine what was being said in that situation. There may have been an officer who went to her supervisor and said something is wrong, you need to do
So
something.
you don't know. You don't know if
Because
any
I got
officers.
a process. I have a process. They have due process. I can't make those. I don't get. They have to go through a due process. My men and women go through an interview process. They have attorneys through the FOP in that process. We're going through the process of an investigation. We're not going to sit there and make any assumptions. I want to know why they were in a mess. Those things will come out, and then at that point, we'll be able to make a full determination of what was said, when it was said, what should have been done, what was not done, and then I will make, and ultimately the department will make a disciplinary decision as to what should happen to those men and women.
All right, so as you could hear, it got heated, but I feel like in a way we were kind of getting somewhere there. So if you guys want to know more of what was said during that particular meeting, our Shayna Ferreira covered what happened today in City Council in its entirety. So all you got to do is go on the free Fox local app, fox29.com, and look for Shayna Ferreira's latest report. She'll have everything you need to know. Now, news at 10 starts soon. I just want to get you caught up on some things to expect. There's a man who went missing 14 years ago. Soon after that, they found him dead. Now they think they've cracked a little bit of this case. They think they have the woman who may have killed him in custody. We're going to have a live report on that from our Joanne Pileggi. We also have another report coming on this shooting. It was a alleged road rage shooting. There was a vigil for the person who died in that situation. Our Shawnette Wilson will be bringing us a live report on that.